There's no budget for it.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, September 29, 2019. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1177.
This is No Agenda.
Firing up the Jenny and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33 in the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the drone star state. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where we're now drinking Perrier Blue, lightly carbonated, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Well, for those who are in the troll room on the stream, they know that we're about an hour late today. When we last left the dynamic duo, John C. Dvorak's power went out on Thursday, and Adam tried to end the show with a couple of no agenda hams, but just went into a mega mix of Greta. Today, give me a second. Today, lightning strikes twice on a show day.
This time some equipment failure, apparently. And, I don't know.
I started getting.
I think this is Gavin Newsom.
I started getting text messages from Mimi about 9:45 my time, so an hour and a half before we usually start. And it was cryptic. I'm like, why is she telling me stuff about Pacific Gas and Electric? I know. And like, oh crap. So she sends me a link to the map. It's like it was bigger than Thursday's outage.
That was a big outage.
But we don't know what happened.
Some equipment failure. A transformer blew up. That's what happened.
I don't.
They had to replace it.
Well,
what else could happen?
Enron rolling blackouts.
Well, those are the days are over, luckily, but they don't seem to be completely over. Yes, during the Gray Davis, if people don't remember this, but in California, we had a governor who was recalled.
Yes,
a Democrat governor who was recalled, which led to the governorship of Schwarzenegger. This guy had gotten in bed with Enron, and they all of a sudden, our power prices have gone through the skyrocketed, and we had rolling blackouts all over the state. And this was about, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And probably more. Well, it's probably more like close to 20 years ago. But we had all these, and the commentary, and everyone's buying it. I wasn't, but everyone was buying it. Oh, well, there's such a heavy load that we can't supply the power for the people anymore. And so the rolling blackouts will be what we have to do constantly now for the rest of our lives. That's what they told us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I believe it. I watched the movie. Those guys
so the rolling blackouts. So they'd have these blackouts. I was luckily on the right grid. I didn't have too many of them. I think maybe one because I'm on the same grid as the police station, so they weren't messing with us too much. And but we kept talking about this. Oh, this is the way it's going to be. This is your life. Well, this is your new life. This is what Rachel Maddow said. This is your life.
This
not
is your
a bad
life
dream.
now.
It's your life now.
But so what happened on Thursday then? Was it also a transformer?
No, it was just somebody hit a pole or something.
Oh, okay. Well, I find it coincidental that it happens twice on a show day. And if I can add to that, you are the biggest, phoniest of all ham radio operators. I mean,
why is this?
Your power goes out, and then you're calling me on the cell phone. That's when you got to hit the repeater, man.
Oh, the phone that or the gear that does that's in the car. I wasn't going outside to go get
it. Do you even know what a repeater is?
I have it hooked up to the other device, the DCOM.
The D-Star?
D-Star.
DCOM.
Which is a great product.
Yeah. Now we know you're a phony ham. No ham thinks D-Star is a great product. Real hams hate it. Anyway.
I love it.
Anyway.
So
welcome back. We're glad you're up. I was actually
when free. I'm not about this.
No, of course not. No, I was chilling. I'm like, it's going to be a couple more hours. Got some time. No such luck.
Yeah. Well, it came up faster. So a couple of things.
Yes.
I thought were funny. First of all, so I get up. I woke up on time without the alarm going off, which is classic.
Wait,
I get up, I look, and I see that the alarm clock is not. There's no lights.
Wait a minute. I thought you had an old school analog alarm clock that just goes ding a ding a ding a ding a ding.
No.
Oh. Oh, okay.
But it's battery powered, so it does make a noise if, it will come back on at the right time, but it doesn't beep much when alarm hits. I heard a little So I get up and, oh, great, the power's out. And I go downstairs and, oh, geez. And so I figure I'd wait till about 8:30 before I give you a call. And meantime, I wanted to get something to eat. And because I'm not stuck in some community that's decided to not run gas lines, I have gas. So I light the gas stove up and I can boil some water, make some tea, fry some bacon, fry some eggs. I'm good to go.
Nice.
Because I have not been. And meanwhile, I'm looking out the window and the people across the street whose power is also off, they want to go get some breakfast because they don't have gas maybe. Right. And they can't get the car out of the garage because they got
the garage door opener.
So they're stuck, and so they're in there trying to figure out some way to finagle the garage door to open it up manually, and they finally managed to do that and took off. But this reminds me of the situation that Mimi was going back to Port Angeles, and she was to put her dog she has a big dog, Fila dog.
Yeah, I know, one of those nice, Brazilian attack dogs.
And he'll kill you, though, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Fila dog is left in she decides she can't make the trip all the way, so she stays at this motel in Cottage Grove where she always goes, which is amenable to dogs. Puts the dog in the to go get something. I don't know what she was. She left the dog in there for a minute. Goes back, the door won't open.
Uh-huh.
So the dog is now freaking out. You got a Fila dog that's not happy. This is not good.
They're like 150 pounds, these dogs.
Yeah, they're big. And they're, what's wrong? What's wrong? There's something's up. Some person's trying to break in. So they can't get in. And then she has to go in through the back window by breaking it. And she's with the motel manager. He can't figure out what's going on. The long and the short of it, the power went out.
And the electric lock.
It's one of these modern places that has keys that are all powered.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, people.
Yeah. Well, you need a Jenny. Jenny. Got to get some generator.
Well, this is I figured these two events were a random number, so it probably won't happen again.
Look, all I know is Mimi's buying you a generator. She says the last thing I need, thing I need is him moving up here. So she's.
Yeah, she didn't say that, but it's okay.
She said you wouldn't want to be there because of the snow. You hate it.
Apparently, yeah, the global warming is making it very cold up there.
Well, thank you for bringing me to global warming. Is with all this Greta stuff that was going on. I think it would be good for us to remind everybody that this is part of something called Agenda 21. We haven't talked about it in a long time on the show.
Years.
Yeah. And I don't know, this is a common mistake we might make in general is, we've been doing this for 11 years. So, hey, I remember we talked about it. These people didn't hear about it. So obviously, 6 hours a week, not everyone's heard everything. But you can go to Wikipedia and look up Agenda 21. And while you're at it, you might want to look up the Club of Rome. All these things are connected. And I'll just read from the first paragraph of the Wikipedia, because this is all about climate change. Is really all about Agenda 21, and a couple things we want to talk about. From the Wikipedia, Book of Knowledge, Agenda 21 is a non-binding action plan of the United Nations with regard to sustainable development. It's a product of the Earth Summit, which was held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, 1992, an action agenda for the United Nations, other multilateral organizations, and individual governments around the world that can be executed at local, national, and global levels. The 21 in Agenda 21 refers to the 21st century. It has been affirmed and a few modifications at subsequent UN conferences. Its aim is achieving global sustainable development. One major objective of the Agenda 21 initiative is that every local government should draw on its own local Agenda 21. And since 2015, sustainable development goals are included in the Agenda 2030 project, which you'll remember is something that we talked about. Well, not everyone will remember. We talked about years ago. 2030 would be a very important date. And a couple of things have been going on this past week in New York, of course, with Greta in town. Just a reminder, Agenda 21 came out of the Club of Rome, which I think started in 1968. And one of the founders of the Club of Rome was a guy named Maurice Strong. And he went on later to create the first carbon credit trading platform with Al Gore. So the guy's been in it for a long time, and obviously he's in it for his own sustainable goals. But one of the things he said at the time on record is, I know I sound like Alex Jones, which is why it's always fun to do this. I read the documents. He said on record that one of the main driver of Agenda 21 and United Nations, the goal is to create global governance. I won't say government, but global governance. And the only way to do that, or what Maurice Strong posited, and I think has been held true.
You said posited.
Only once.
Okay.
I won't say it again, this show. Is you need to indoctrinate, he didn't say this, but paraphrasing, global warming, he did say that literally, is the way to get everyone together and know that we will all die. The world cannot sustain itself unless we all work together, all countries, all regions, all nations. And the United Nations was, is supposed to be the organization that manages that all. And if you look at what's happening in legislation in general, particularly when it comes to sustainability and justice, these things are peppered throughout political discourse, throughout our language, throughout popular culture. Another big push was sustainability of the food chain, and we'd have to eat less meat. We've been tracking this since they first started telling us we should eat bugs or get used to it because we'll be eating bugs.
Eat bugs.
Yeah, and this Impossible Burger and the I can't believe it's not meat or whatever companies. It's really a part of this, and that's why these companies probably are successful, because it's part of the agenda. So just to remind us of what this does in particular to young people, I have a follow-up to the compilage that you had on the previous episode of children during the last week's climate strike, where they didn't leave school. The school approved it and escorted them and shamed their parents into making sure all the kids went. And they were walking around saying stuff like this.
My name is Rosie Clemensko. I'm 11 years old. We are here because our parents trashed the planet, and it's up to our generation to save it.
But my future is in jeopardy. All of our futures are in jeopardy.
Baby boomers, all these people call us Generation Z, the last letter of the alphabet, because we are going to be the last generation to survive.
We have only 11 years to rectify decades of damage that we have inflicted on our planet, and only 18 months until some damages are irreversible.
And I am only 16 years old. I am here to speak for the trees. I'd like to acknowledge my privilege and my background.
I am here for the people who are suffering and dying because of our country's decision.
And we are not here to talk about our sacrifices and our doom and gloom and not existing. We are here to create. We do not have time to be polite. This is a revolution. We are creating this movement every day because every day of inaction drives more action from us.
In the 116th Congress, 9,621 pieces of legislation were introduced. Only 203 had the words climate change in them, even though that 70% of adults, 90% of kids believe that climate change is real and happening.
From Flint, Michigan, to the North Dakota Access Pipeline, to South Bronx, this is environmental racism, and we must acknowledge the issue. The climate crisis will disproportionately affect the marginalized, the impoverished, and the voiceless.
We refuse to continue with business as usual because we know that is a death sentence.
I want our policymakers to see the faces of the people they are condemning to death. Rebel!
Death!
Or die!
We refuse to be the last generation to thrive. We are going to give it to the generations to come. Oh gosh, I'm done. Passing it on. Thank you guys. I'm done.
Yeah, they're all such heroes.
Before you continue, I want to make one comment.
Yes.
The 11 and 12-year-olds are one thing because, their brain is really very formative and they're not that bright, let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to 16 and you're still acting like this, I would check myself in or maybe take some remedial courses because you really have to be extremely stupid to be this entrenched in this nonsense. But okay.
It's
a brainwashing trick. It's working fine.
Yeah, when your parents are all in on it, why not?
The parents
agree with it.
Well, they're hopeless if that's the case. But
now, and I want to point something else out that even though I disclaimed it during the show. We had an end of show mix, which you probably didn't hear, and a lot of people have done Greta mixes. I got a lot of pushback. This is sad. This poor 16-year-old girl. Blah, blah. I'm like, where's your head at? This child might as well be dead. She is completely under hypnotic spell and control. It's incredibly sad. I think we both agree with that. But you can see how effective it is that our own no agenda people even go, that was a little too much.
We have a lot of climate fanatics that listen to the show. Plenty.
Another part of Agenda 21, just to add it to the mix, and I put the Agenda 21. The whole document is in the show notes, nashownotes.com. The Club of Rome, the book is in there as well. So
by the way, the Club of Rome is one of the most subversive operations. In the 60s and 70s, they were all behind Ehrlich and his population
explosion.
We're all going to die by 2000. And there's a population clock. They had the clock, and we're ticking down. And in the year 2000, we're all going to be starving to death. Everyone's going to be starving in the streets.
Yep. Gender equality is a big part of Agenda 21. Conservation management of resources for development, social and economic dimensions, demographic dynamics, and sustainability. Now, this was written in 92. You're hearing these words coming out of children's mouths right now. And climate racism, whatever that is.
Oh, that's a good one. It was actually environmental racism.
Environmental racism, yes. Environmental racism.
Now, we did play that clip from that other girl who was a kind of a model for Greta, and she was talking at that event in
1992. You're right.
And she's moaning and groaning about it. We're all dying here. We're dying. We're all dying. And meanwhile, she's still in the business as an environmentalist, and she's in her 30s now, late 30s, I think.
Of course.
And she hasn't died yet, but okay.
Just to keep this an international flavor, producer Robin in Schiedam in the Netherlands went to the climate strike protest in The Hague last Friday. He says that actually there were about 30,000 people there, and he did what every no agenda producer should do: is he recorded the chants, and he says there was really only one chant, and it was just a boring one. But when you get the Dutch accent, the cadence becomes a little funnier. When do we want it? What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
No!
What do we want? Climate justice! When do we want it? Now! So that's the Dutch following along perfectly.
It is good.
Yeah. Now, just to show you how well this type of stuff works, and ultimately how a country filled with smart people like the United States can still fall for some bull crap, but then ultimately overturn the bull crap, so I have hope. One of our producers sent me a clip from the Ken Burns documentary on Prohibition, which currently is running on Netflix. And listen to this clip. It'll sound very familiar when you just think of what is being done to the American public, and I think the public at large throughout the world of Gitmo Nation, regarding climate change.
Francis Willard placed Mary Hunt in charge of the department. Hunt lobbied state legislatures and the Congress to require anti-alcohol indoctrination in the schools, forced textbook publishers to conform to the WCTU's message, and sometimes demanded kickbacks in exchange for her stamp of approval. She also directed women from chapters all over the country to pressure local school boards. Before long, public school children in every state, 22 million of them, were sitting through temperance classes 3 times a week. kindergartners were taught to chant, "Tremble, King Alcohol, we shall grow up." Older children studied texts filled with lurid misinformation calculated to terrify. Just one drink, some books alleged, could burn away the lining of the throat and stomach and begin eating away at the liver and kidneys.
Little Johnny has one drink, and the next picture, he's lying in the gutter, unconscious. One of their most notorious things is they had diagrams of body parts. So you would have a diagram of a stomach, and then they had a diagram of an inebriate stomach. And what happens to you? Well, the inebriate stomach was full color.
Alcohol caused deafness, dropsy, lunacy, they claimed. Not only in those who swallowed it, but in their children and their children's children. And always, some textbooks warned, there was the fearful possibility that drinking could spark spontaneous combustion, bursting suddenly into fatal blue flame. Millions of children came to believe it all, and it would not be too long, Willard prayed, before they all were old enough to vote.
Well, I think they should bring the spontaneous human combustion forward to the
climate change.
Yeah, this would be great. We're all going to spontaneously combust.
I will mention that during the push to get the Americans involved in World War I, the exact same propaganda mechanism was used against the kids. And it's a common technique, and it is unconscionable, but for some reason we keep doing it over and over again, and it's a lot of corruption. Like there's a woman, the WCTU woman, Women's Christian Temperance Union. She was getting money for giving a stamp of approval for some of the do-gooding that was going on. It was unbelievable.
Well, last night I was talking with the keeper about this, and she doesn't know much about Agenda 21. I said, you have no idea the meetings. And the meetings are always in exotic locales. We'll take Rio, where it all kicked off. But there's thousands of people who go to these, and these are civil servants from countries all around the globe, and they all meet, and they all have, they'll talk about stuff like, how are we going to get people to stop eating meat? I know, we'll put some nuts together and some grass and call it, I can't believe it's not a burger. I mean, all of this stuff is discussed, and there's positioning papers, and there's government grants, and it's a huge bonanza and has been going on for a long time. And this brings us to the culmination of Climate Week in New York. On the big lawn in Central Park, it happens every year. Once again, time for the Global Citizen Festival. And this is a musical event that is intended to bring children from all lands together and make them feel part of a global family and listen to their global representatives who they hope one day will be part of global governance. And let me just tell you about this outfit, globalcitizen.org. Peter Murphy is the founder. He's from Australia, and I have a little piece of promo from him. Just some other people who are on the board. And so the sponsors, or as they call the partners, of this event in Central Park, which you can't buy a ticket to. You have to earn points by doing things good for the environment. So all these little slavelets running around who wanted to be a part of this, they were organized into getting credits, climate credits, get them ready, get them thinking about how that works. But of course, we need to make some money on this, and it needs to be paid for. So it was presented by Citibank, by Cisco. MSNBC was a presenting media partner with Comcast, NBC Universal, and iHeartRadio. Hello, Elvis Duran. Production partner, Live Nation Entertainment. And then the major partners, Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Verizon, and, of course, the New York City parks. Board of directors, lots of bankers. CVC Capital. I'd like to give you their names unless you'd recognize it. Iconic Capital, Chris Anderson, the CEO of TED. Michelle Anthony, I think she's Polly Anthony's daughter, from Universal Music Group. She's the executive vice president. Then we got a guy from Rock Nation. That's Jay-Z's social justice outfit. Chief operating officer for U.S. Concerts Live Nation, Mark Campana. We've got the vice president, corporate equity and partnership for Johnson & Johnson. Then just throw a good name in there. Kelly Curtis, manager, Pearl Jam. Right on, put him on the board. Leonard Green and partners. We've got the Women's World Banking, chief people officer at Cisco, the editor of Forbes. I could go on, and I'm not going to, but it's a very long list, and everybody's on it. And there was some promo with one of their presenting partners, and that was MSNBC and the Morning Joes. Here's Hugh Evans to promo the event.
This is our 10th anniversary as an organization, and this year it's all about celebrating the global citizens themselves, the year-round activists who work day in and day out. They make the phone calls to members of Congress. They send the tweets to world leaders. They volunteer their time to come to the festival, but they do it even when the festival's not on. And that's because they're learning about issues that matter on this planet, and they say, you know what? We want to be the generation to end extreme poverty, to tackle climate change, and to see the United Nations global goals realized.
You hear it? To see the United Nations global goals realized. He's talking about Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. And there's no hiding it. They mean this stuff, which is fine. So they
don't have to hide it.
They don't
have to hide. Why would they have to hide it when people who listen to this show condemned you for playing a Greta clip?
Exactly. It's working perfectly for them.
Yeah. No reason to hide any of this.
No, correct. So, to make it a fun show, let me see what the full lineup had. There's some good acts. I like her, and that's good. Just whatever, just some musical acts. But the big headliner, for some reason, they brought out Carole King. And this is the kind of stuff you get. So just a short clip of some ad-lib of Carole on stage.
Ain't it good to know? Let me tell you now. So yesterday I was talking to John Baptiste, and I was saying I want to celebrate every global citizen. Woo! And I said, does anyone know a rhyme for citizen? And John said, well, these people are helping to make better the world we're living in. Yeah!
Woo! You did. Oh, I thought they were going to welcome me on stage. So, it's
global citizen.
All that
global citizen.
All that ad-lib stuff. And then the last clip is what it really comes down to. It's the moment we've all been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, on stage, the man who flew his private jet just to be here with you tonight.
Actor and activist Leonardo DiCaprio.
Woo!
Hello, New York. In the 4 years since the Paris Agreement, it's been 4 years.
By the way, this is a meme fest.
It has become clear that our political leaders have failed to live up to the promises that we celebrated that day. As our reliance on fossil fuels continues to hold our future hostage, our planet continues to warm, and the result, the massive loss of biodiversity, rising sea levels, climate refugees, worsening storms, fires, and droughts that plague every corner of the globe.
We're fucked.
Our future is being gambled away, and our leaders, those whom we entrust to protect us and set the example, are either failing to stop these dangerous trends or, in some cases, denying the very science of this climate catastrophe. And make no mistake,
let's hear it for denying! Woo! Oh,
very science of this climate catastrophe. And make no mistake, our scientific community has already spoken. The facts are clear. And unless you live in an alternate reality, there's no more time for denial. A carbon-neutral future is the only way we will inherit a planet capable of sustaining life on Earth as we know it. And while our leaders continue to deny the science, I can tell you one thing for certain: the youth is not. Last Friday, young people led the world in strike. Millions of brave individuals did more than simply walk out of their schools and places of employment. They took a stand. They set an example of true leadership that we so desperately need right now. These young people have said clearly, definitively, and without fear that the time for inaction is now over. Yet, surprisingly, some have reacted to this movement with insulting tweets and negative talking points.
Insulting.
Individuals that seem to care more about about profit and their own self-interests than about your future.
J'accuse, s'accuse.
But we know that the climate youth movement is more important and crucial than at any time in human history.
Get the kids,
and
Leo.
To turn this around, this movement needs all of our support to become even stronger and be even more impactful. While its leader, Greta Thunberg, couldn't join us here tonight.
Now, I don't know what happened. I looked for any kind of evidence that she had canceled
Probably
or got
having
sick.
a nervous breakdown.
Well, they covered for her.
Give her a big round of applause.
Our leader, our Führer, Greta.
She calls her the leader?
Yep.
To us to get behind other young leaders for this monumental undertaking.
Time to introduce some new puppets in case this one drops dead.
These are true global citizens that are powering the movement from the front lines. Tonight I have the distinct and real honor of introducing three of Greta's sisters in arms. These are three young women that are proving that you don't have to be a politician or a celebrity to have your voice heard and make a difference.
All right. And then the girls come on. I was kind of...
Give this guy a douchebag, will you?
Yeah. He deserves
that is unconscionable, this guy. I used the word twice now. I'm not going to use it again.
That's all right.
But wow.
Yeah. So that's what is happening. And
by the way, I bet you he did fly in his private jet. That's what he does.
Of course he does.
He flies everywhere. I'll bet you went solo.
Just him and two pilots and a stewardess.
Yeah.
Now, the reason for this Agenda 21, and because that's what people, why does one Soros want all this? What are these? Because he's in, all these elites are in it. Because they believe that you and I are stupid. We're just useless eaters. I think that's Prince Philip who said that. Useless eaters. We're really no good. The whole concept of let's move production around the world everywhere that it's cheaper. And then when that country gets built up, then we'll move it back to the country that we just, hollowed out. That's to protect their way of life. They only want limited people on the earth. Hence the population bomb, which came from the same people. Of course, they couldn't stop that. So now the push will continue to be for global governance. And, there's other organizations that come into this story, Trilateral Commission, etc. But if you start with Agenda 21 and the Club of Rome, you'll learn quite a bit. And I've put a couple other videos in the show notes, nashownotes.com, so you can just get an idea of where this is all coming from. And it truly is to rule over us and to tell us what to do. And look at, I lived in the United Kingdom. I lived in the Netherlands. Now you can't even say anything in the Netherlands that might split the discord or cause discourse amongst the population. You can go to jail for 2 years. And this is not made up.
We need to break these laws. There's a bunch of these laws. We talked about them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you should go over the whole list again. I mean, it's unbelievable, and they're serious about this. It's not like joke laws, like in Canada they would do something like that.
Oh, and that's in the show notes from the previous episode. I can find it.
Okay, never mind. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that's the main one. The UK has similar complete limitations on freedom of speech, and so add to that, and I know it's hard for people to wrap their head around that the gun discussion in the United States is not about hunting or a scary gun. And yeah, sure, we're told to be very afraid of our kids getting killed in school. Of course, that's a possibility. The percentage is actually very low. There's more chance they will die on the way to school or coming home from school, but it's still a horrible event. But that is all to condition you to hand over your guns willingly. And that's why look at Australia, look at the United Kingdom. I mean, in the Netherlands right now, you really, to have a gun, it has to be locked up in a gun club. It's very, the licensing is a nightmare. You're not going to have this thing roaming around. But meanwhile, there's something called the Mokro War, as the Moroccans are fighting. They've been fighting for 10 years, groups amongst themselves over some missing shipment of 300 kilos of coke or whatever. And there's 50 or 60 people have been just liquidated over this. So, and then the citizens are standing by, no protection, nothing. But most of all, there's no fear. The government has no fear that hiding behind every bush, in every car, in every closet, even Granny could be strapped. And that keeps them in check. I don't know why they didn't just say that properly in the Constitution. Although there's mention of, tyranny, enemies, foreign or domestic, which would be our own government. And that's the only thing I think that still keeps us kind of out of the realm of this global idea. And so when you see Trump, who clearly is not a globalist, who wins the election, people are freaking out because they were getting really close. This mofo shut down the Paris Accord. That was the mother lode. That was the beginning of it. That's where it was all going to go up. We were going to get this global governance. We were getting really, really close.
We're getting close. We're getting that close, but we're getting a lot closer. But you can't stop. The problem, I don't think, was just going from Paris Accords to global governance, because there's still a number of steps.
There's a number of steps, yes.
It was momentum.
Yeah, momentum. There you go. That's the word. Momentum.
And that's why they keep trying. Well, we got to re-sign. We got to get back on track. We got to get back on track. They always say something like back on track, because back on track means let's get the momentum back. It's like a football game. You lost the momentum. Now what are you going to do?
Exactly.
And they haven't gotten the momentum back. And they're going through this rigmarole with Trump trying to get him impeached.
Yep.
And that's not going to help.
And then
I think most people see the transparency of this, and it's like, although the lib joes are all in, but
I don't think people see the transparency. Okay, good.
If you want to go there.
Yeah,
I was listening to your rant on this thing, which is getting me mad.
I was just going to play one more thing. Because, it's not just, the children is clearly right now the focus. That's a good way. They've got Greta. She's got an iconic image. She's being kept that way with the two braids.
I will say this. The children are being set up, propagandized to literally sell out the country.
Yeah.
Our children are being set up to sell out the United States, to sell out the country. That's exactly what's going on. And if people could come to realize that eventually, maybe they'll figure it out and do something about their own thinking.
So what are they really selling out? They're selling out their own future. And people are not sitting down for 2 seconds and thinking about this, because we all believe science. Now, and we see this we'll get to the Ukraine thing. The only thing that has changed with the momentum they had is the political class, the elite class, is still kind of stuck in we've got the media, and that sounds like, I've got my tinfoil hat on. No, just look at what's going on. They have the media. The media is all in for whatever reason, whether it's financial or they're just hypnotized or stardom and fame. There's a number of different things. It's not that hard. I've been in that business.
There's a lot of sincerity in there.
There's definitely sincerity, because they look at the elites, go, I'm sitting here with Al Gore. Holy crap, former vice president. Damn, this is cool.
That element exists.
Yeah.
That's the most pathetic part about it. That what you just described is extremely pathetic. The culture's been set up to be a celebrity worshiping culture, and it makes the public very susceptible to that. So as you run into a celebrity, and celebrities themselves, you'll see them do this. I see so-and-so. Oh, she's standing right over there.
Yeah.
And that's a celebrity talking about another celebrity.
Exactly.
I mean, this is really pathetic.
So, that was really good what you said, but then I kind of got off track. My point that I was going to... I was going to say that the political class and the elite still believe that the way to indoctrinate people is through television and through entertainment. And meanwhile, underneath all of this, the people have built infrastructure on the internet that allows us to tear all of this crap apart. I mean, the idea that I can just download the entire Agenda 21 document for myself and read it and see what they're saying and see when they were saying it and look at all these, and I can communicate with other people outside of their system. They haven't caught up yet. They still think, we just have people go on TV and say this over and over and over again. They'll believe it. Yes, it's working to a great degree. But look at this show. This show is a perfect example. We don't need advertising. We don't need the corporate world. We don't need the Silicon Valley platforms. Just a group of people who are doing this all together. And that's the part
right.
that they
need the audience.
And the only politician I know who's figured it out is Trump. He's the only one who figured at least part of it out. It's like, hey, I don't need to do it the old-fashioned way like all those presidents. So anyway, let's go.
And by the way, before you finish that thought, That is why they are. I mean, that's why they hate his tweeting so much.
Of course.
They harp on it. Who cares? If you don't like his tweets, don't subscribe to his feed. That's the way I see it, but that's not the way they see it. Oh, he's tweeted. As if this is like some horrible thing he's doing. Maybe he's an idiot as he tweets. I don't know. If you don't like it, don't read it.
Exactly. So here's a perfect example of the old school way. This is at the United Nations General Assembly. They got all the muckety mucks. Now Greta's already spoken there. She didn't do much. She said, I'm not going to submit a written testimony, as she read from her paper. And she just resubmitted the scientist's likely / moderate to high confidence positioning paper on climate, because it's not 100%. They don't use percentages. They use terms like it's likely, it's moderately likely, it's highly likely, never 100% sure of anything, because it's all based on modeling. Anyway, so they got to bring in someone to communicate the message. Won't you please think of the children? Who better to bring it to you than Harrison Ford?
President Macron, we're sincerely grateful to the French government, which has committed to investing in this effort with a $100 million contribution. Thank you, sir.
Woo!
Thank you. It's a great start.
Wait, stop the tape.
Please clap. Please clap.
Please clap. What did he say? Macron gave $100 million?
France. Macron. France.
So France hasn't got any. So in other words, they're taxing the people with the carbon tax and they're giving the money away?
You got it.
Did the French public put up with this?
Well, you're not going to find out about that. You're not going to get that answer on television. You will find it on the internet, where you see that the yellow vests are still protesting. Of course they don't like that. It's very insulting. But it wasn't really big news. I didn't see any big articles. Keep that quiet. That's just for the club here at UN. Come on, man, shut up. It's Indiana Jones, mofo.
President Macron, we're sincerely grateful to the French government, which has committed to investing in this effort with a $100 million contribution. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Please clap.
It's a great start.
100 million. Yeah, 100 million. Oh, fuck that. That's how much money these bozos deal with. That 100 million is like, whatever.
It is a great start, but it is not enough. On behalf of Conservation International, I'm honored to announce that we are committing an additional $20 million in funding.
Woo! Way to go. So it's all about money.
But we can't do it alone. We need all the help that we can get. This money must go directly to indigenous people and civil society. The people on the front lines, the people on the ground, the people with their feet in the mud. Our efforts will have effect. We will make great progress. And we are not alone. There's a new force of nature at hand.
Here we go.
Stirring all over the world. They are the young people whom, frankly, we have failed. Who are angry, who are organized, who are capable of making a difference. They are a moral army. And the most important thing that we can do for them is to get the hell out of their way.
Bravo, bellissimo.
Vote to the 8-year-olds.
Indiana Jones, bravo. Get the hell out of their way, man. That's actually worth watching that whole thing. He kept getting stuck and couldn't figure out his notes. Didn't work in audio, but it was fun to see him sweat a little bit.
Yeah, he's a wreck, that guy.
One of the foremost justices in the United Kingdom is predicting now, as all a part of Agenda 21, that eating meat in the future could be banned just like smoking. And he called the offense ecocide.
Are they going to do anything before they do that? Maybe they should do something about eating secondhand meat.
I hear that's just as dangerous, if not worse.
Yeah.
You got me there. So in the show notes, you'll find there are of course all kinds of climatologists who do not agree with this. There's an article out 500 climate scientists who wrote to the UN that there's no climate emergency. And there's a lot of groups now.
That explains the clip I have.
Well, let's go to that then, because I think I've made my point more or less about this.
I think you made your point, and you could. And as far as I'm concerned, you can make that point a lot.
Okay.
But here's the latest. That what you just said reminds me of this clip, because let's just go in the other direction and go. CBS, of course, is all in on this, the CIA broadcasting system. And here's the climate change push. They brought a climate guy on so they give us an update, because this climate has got to be talked about more.
In Climate Watch, a new CBS News poll shows more than 9 out of 10 Americans think the Earth is experiencing climate change in some way. But there is greater disagreement on whether the primary cause is human activity or natural patterns. Only 9% believe climate change is not happening. Most Americans think action needs to be taken right now to address climate change. Most consider it at least to be a serious problem, including more than a quarter who say it is a crisis. Their opinions on the subject are marked by partisan divisions. CBS News climate change and weather contributor Jeff Baradelli joins me now to talk about the poll. Jeff, thanks so much for being with us. We see the polls on what Americans believe, but for the record, what does the scientific community now believe about climate change?
Right, so Americans are kind of 50-50 split on where scientists are. Do scientists agree? I can tell you they agree. In fact, the agreement is between 97 and 99% of climate scientists that study climate on a day in and day out basis believe that humans are the cause of climate change.
There's not really a debate on this, it sounds.
There's not a debate on it, and it's all of it. Not virtually all of it, but all of climate change is being caused by humans.
The science is in. Science.
All of it.
Everyone.
All of it. Every
so
little
all the
piece.
guys we listen to who are climatologists, many of them,
Yep.
a lot of them older, retired, so they can say what they want. They're not on the dole. They're all full of crap.
Meanwhile,
but the 8-year-olds, they know what's going on.
I follow Retraction Watch.
Oh, good. That's a good thing. I don't follow it, but I know
pretty good
about
blog. Nature, which is a serious publication, is retracting a 2018 paper which found that the oceans are warming much faster than predicted by previous models of climate change. The article, Quantification of Ocean Heat Uptake from Changes in Atmospheric O2 and CO2 Composition, appeared at last October, but quickly drew the attention of an influential critic who said the analysis was flawed. So to make this article very short, they had to withdraw it. It will no longer be published. They admit they made some mistakes in the models. And, this is very strange. So they will resubmit it to a different publication in the future. Yeah, so they're having trouble. I don't think many of these studies, if at all, are replicated that are published. There's
which is what science is all about,
well,
by the way.
The replication crisis is real, and science admits that this is an actual issue. So there's papers being retracted, which directly affects the IPCC's New Oceans Report, because it cited that paper. So I don't know what the rules are.
Of course it did.
You'd think you'd have to retract your paper if some other paper that you based your paper on is retracted, but
no.
Who knows?
Why bother?
Yeah. But the climate change is just to scare you into compliance. It's a lot more. And the meat, it's a big thing. Everyone, you should tell Andrew Horowitz. In fact, I'll call him today after the show. Shut up with this Impossible Burger thing. You're part of the problem. You're part of the elitist crowd when you promote that stuff.
He doesn't know. He's against the Impossible Burger.
And I thought he said it tasted okay.
No. He said it didn't taste okay.
Okay.
He said it tasted, okay. It's like, here, have this substitute burger. What do you think of it? Well,
it's okay. Yeah, I got you.
It's okay, but I'm not going to get it again.
I got you.
And that's a big difference. A lot of people, a lot of people went all in on the Impossible Burger King burger and all the rest of them because they wanted to check it out. Because it's like, wow, everyone's talking about it because it's a good publicity stunt.
Yeah.
You have to admit. And Burger King did
very
a great
good
job. Oh, it tastes just like a regular Whopper. And you end up with a bunch of people trying it once and saying, yeah, I had it. So you can say, I had it. You got your bragging rights. I gave it. It filled the pipeline.
Exactly.
I don't think it's going to last. It reminds me of the McDonald's burger that had the hot on the one side and the cold on the other. It's too much, it's just not worth the trouble.
Well, couple other things I noticed that are necessary to talk about in this time frame. Last night, Saturday Night Live came back after their hiatus, which is a fancy television word for a long vacation. Screw ya. You notice that they never say vacation in entertainment. They say the show's on hiatus.
Well, yeah, but hiatus is also used to mean you're done.
Well, there's that part of it. But the show was on hiatus. They came back, and it was very interesting. And I watched until it comes on an hour earlier here, so about 11:30, because I did want to see Billie Eilish perform. And they started with kind of the expected, Trump, he's freaking out about the impeachment. He calls Rudy Giuliani, and then there's Bill Barr, and so kind of what you'd expect. Oh, I'm covering up the cover-up. So all the talking points were in. Then that was fine. But then the next sketch was very interesting. They had actors playing the top candidates. So Bernie, Kamala, Biden. It was Woody Harrelson played Joe Biden very well. I got Warren, I think. Pete Buttigieg, Cory Booker for 3 seconds. And they made jokes about it. But then they went through the top contenders, and they made a laughingstock out of all of them. Joe, Elizabeth, Kamala, who somehow they were able to... She had some description for herself, and it wound up being that she is a funt. It's like a family with a bundt cake or something, and that's why I'm a funt. Obviously, them signaling to the world, we think she's a see you next Tuesday. Elizabeth Warren, like a whack job. Marianne Williamson, very funny. But they really didn't show, because I was waiting. It's like, okay, are they going to make less fun of one person or more fun? No, this is how they ended it.
Mr. Trump, no one is above the law. Above the law. Thursdays on NBC. Gonk, gonk.
And those are our choices, America. Good luck.
That's how the sketch ended. So here's the most liberal of programs on the most liberal of networks making fun of all of the Democratic candidates and actually saying, good, well, here she comes. Duck! Duck, John, duck, duck, duck! Here she is, she's swooping in! Sunday morning, CBS, this morning.
Shortly before House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced a formal impeachment inquiry this week, Hillary Clinton told CBS Sunday Morning the president's actions need to be investigated.
You lived through an impeachment as First Lady in the Clinton administration. What is your view today on Donald Trump's prospects for impeachment?
Well, my view is that given this latest revelation, which is such a blatant effort to use his presidential position to advance his personal and political interests, there should be an impeachment inquiry opened. And I don't care who you're for in the Democratic primary or whether you're a Republican. When the President of the United States, who has taken an oath to protect and defend the Constitution, uses his position to, in effect, extort a foreign government for his own political purposes, I think that is very much what the founders worried about in high crimes and misdemeanors.
The former Secretary of State who lost the 2016 presidential election revealed why she does not think President Trump will be reelected. She and her daughter Chelsea also discussed their new book.
So she'll also be on Colbert. Now, of course, it's CBS, Simon & Schuster, so she's doing the CBS shows. She'll be on The View this week. If there ever was a time, if there ever was a beautiful setup, it's to have Trump getting impeached, Biden looking like he's non-electable, everybody's making fun of all the front runners, even NBC or CNBC is putting fear out there about Elizabeth Warren.
But how is it possible that this company cannot find a CEO? I mean, are they worried about Elizabeth Warren attacking that? She or he would be.
Of course they are, and of course that person is. Why wouldn't they be?
I don't know.
If she becomes president, what do you think is going to happen to the banks?
Well, it would be a suboptimal situation for the banks.
Right.
You think Elizabeth Warren pushes banks into it? Well, they're already down 20% from the highs, but...
Yeah, I just think that... I don't know what's going to happen. Look, I've got to tell you, when you get off the desk and you talk to executives, they're more fearful of her winning. I mean, I've never heard anybody say, look, she's got to be stopped. She's got to be stopped. I don't know. She's very... she keeps going up in the polls.
She's raised a ton of money.
She's going to win Iowa, I believe. She's a very compelling figure on the stump.
By the way, I hear it too, and it's another reason why companies are being implored to do things now. If you want to get something done,
you really think
M&A or anything, think about doing it soon, because come early to mid 2020. If Elizabeth Warren's rolling along, everybody's going to be like, that's it.
So you're hearing it too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're all hearing it. The banks won't even...
Yeah, I actually linked to a CNBC article in the newsletter that talks about this problem, because they're the bankers, and Hillary, by the way, is the banker's person, which makes this even seem more
even
insidious.
Better. Yes.
CNBC and NBC, Comcast, MSNBC, we
They're
know
all
they're
in.
the real Democrat spokespeople, all of them,
and they're
and of course, and Comcast, NBC was involved in that event that you mentioned
distributors, just a presentation partner of Global Citizen Festival.
So they're all in, and so they're controlling the narrative, and they're the ones you have to assume because of the bit because I didn't see it. The bit that you talked about that was done on Saturday Night Live, which was detrimental to all the candidates. This is all being set as a setup for Hillary to come in, and it'll be after the next debate. She'll jump in.
No, she will not jump in.
She'll be drafted. She'll be forced to come in.
She's going to swoop in, John.
She's going to swoop in. Yeah, like a reptile. A reptile she is. She doesn't sweat,
Pterodactyl. She's like the reptile she is. That's right.
So, this is beautiful to watch, especially since I've never taken her off the list of candidates.
And here's the weirdest thing. I am personally excited for you. I don't care about the world, about our country, about the show. I'm really excited for you. This is a win I want you to have. 3 years.
I'm hoping to.
3 years. I want you to have who gives a damn about the country? It'll be great for the show, obviously.
Well, yeah, it's something to think about. So let's listen to what they had to say about we're talking now about a little bit about the impeachment. And I want to play a couple of clips. Let's start with.
Can I make a suggestion? Since we're right at the top of the hour.
Oh yeah, good idea. Good idea.
I would like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in Global Citizen, John Citizen C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning, all ships at sea, boots on the ground, subs in the water. Feet in the air, and all the dames and knights out there.
And in the morning to the trolls in the troll room, we've been very patient today, and thank you, Darren O, for such a extended, fantastic pre-stream. And the trolls love it. This is where you can. Nick the Rat just bent over in the troll room. Don't do that, Nick. This is where you can listen to all of the great content that surrounds the No Agenda show. There's I don't know how many shows we have on the stream at this point, but 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can hear something different, something interesting, something compelling, stuff you will not hear on the mainstream, and you can chat along for free and troll with all of your friends. And it is a complete producer-supported project. Void Zero, Bemrose, and the boys. We always credit them on the show notes page if you want to see all the things they're doing, their wizardry, and there's over 1,000 people in there right now. It's a fun place to hang out. Also, like to thank. Hold on a second. The artist for episode 1176. Now, the title of that was Soest Piet, and there were a couple of options. That we had for artwork and title. But we both really love the Wednesday Addams version of Greta Thunberg, which was done by Nick the Rat. And it scored big on the social nets because everybody saw this and went, oh, I know exactly what you're talking. You didn't have to say anything. The no agenda font type was in kind of Addams Family font type. It was, and the right grayscale, black and white of the old Addams Family. A great piece by Nick. Great piece. And this is his second, I think, in a row.
Yes, that's his second in a row. So he's up for the hat trick, which means that the other artists are there now because we have War of the Artists. Well, I'm sorry. Let me.
Where's your echo, man? Yeah, do that right.
War of the Artists. So we have the War of the Artists going on, and I think one of the artists says, I won't say who, but they said, "This is great."
The war is great.
Competitive artists, let's put it that way. And
the heat is on.
Not saying it's Mike Riley, but
but it could be,
maybe. But now is the time for them to block Nick. Because he's on a roll, and he's nailed this simplicity, and he hits early. And we noticed this.
He does.
He hits early.
He hits early. That boy does. Yes.
So it's probably up. His winning art is probably up already.
And I need to mention, we have these end of show mixes, which are just sometimes operatic in production and execution. Today we have another one by Cast of Thousands, which I'll mention later. But this is it was a request from one of our dames. And I think it was a donation note we read out a few shows ago saying, where are the dames? We need more dames. And of course, you can count on Sir Chris Wilson. Actually, let me give you the full list of people who are on it now in case we run out of time at the end, or I don't know, we have a power outage. Let's see. Credits: Rogers and Stop the Hammerstein. So Sir Chris. It's the Gitmo Nation Men with Penises Choir featuring Sir Abel Kirby, Common Douchebag, Gruff, Sir Seatsitter, Sir John Fletcher, Circumvent the Law, Dame Carolyn Blaney, Sir Dude named Ned of the Convict Broadcast, Sir Felix the Early Night, Sir Buford the Blacklight, Irritable, special guest appearances by Nick the Rat and Zindu, mixed and engineered by Sir Dude named Ned and Sir Chris the Drunken Minstrel. You'll hear the whole show at the end, or the whole mix at the end, but the idea is we're on a Dame donation drive. More dames for the No Agenda Roundtable.
There is nothing like a dame, nothing in the world. Gitmo Nation will acclaim, there ain't anything like a dame.
So, hear the full song at the end of the show. So we want dames. We need dames to join the roundtable. It's a Dame donation drive.
Well, we're going to start with thanking our executive and associate executive producers for show 1177. And the beginning, the top dog is actually Sir Fox Bat. He comes in from Cincinnati, Ohio with $2,050.
What?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Saved the show single-handedly.
No, he sure did. Thank you. Oh, my goodness.
Hello, John and Adam, he writes. Your show continues to be both funny and informative. The donation should qualify me for a barony. Accounting will be sent in a separate email. As for territory, because of all the land near my home in southwest Ohio, it's been claimed already. And due to the fact that I am currently on the island of Rarotonga in the Cook Islands.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, so I ran into a guy. I think it was at Tech, maybe it was when I did some work at MSNBC years ago before it became what it is today. And there's this guy, he was a sales guy thing, and he had this, just a regular guy, but he had this unbelievable tan. It was just for some reason pretty.
Not like George Hamilton pretty, but
no, that's just too tan.
It
was just this pretty tan. It was a color that I've never seen before. And he claims that he can only get he's a tan guy.
Oh, I remember you telling me this. Yes, only the light in the Cook Islands you can get that tan, right?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, I remember that
story.
story.
He goes to the Cook Islands and he spends much time as he can there to get his tan. This is a fanatic, by the way. But I have to say, it's like something you just look at because it's like, what a tan. And I don't even like tans. I like pale skin. But okay. If I'm able, I probably won't be.
Thanks. I'm glad to hear that.
I'm pale, so I figured pale is good. But I have to say, this tan was dynamite. He says, I would like to claim my protectorate as the Cook Islands if I'm able. Yes, you can. It always says, if I'm able, I probably won't be. I can get you with a cook.ck web address. No.
You're reading. And by the way, yes, I want this.
Co.ck.
Yes, I want one.
Funny.
I want a curry.co.ck, please. That's great.
Yeah. LOL. He says, yes, that's what they use.
I'm in.
Seriously.
I'm in.
If there's such a thing, I like travel karma to hopefully prevent United Airlines screwing up my flights again.
Oh, no.
The worst airline in the country, bar none. And it's the only jingle I'd like is that China is asshole. ISO. Also, thoughts and prayers, love and light. Be blessed and stay black. Best Sir Foxbat.
I'll tie a goat karma onto that.
China is asshole.
You've got karma.
Joseph Finley, 34567. One of my favorite type of donations. Jingle. He's got his jingles there. You can note Biden whole load today. What's Biden whole load today?
I'm going to give you the whole load today.
He actually gave us the YouTube, so I clipped it.
The whole load.
The whole load.
Well, he wants the whole load, then followed by look at that juice.
Yeah.
Which is this is lewd, by the way, for people.
Hello.
Cover your children's ears. Don't stop raffing in China, asshole. Which everybody seems to be the monthly favorite.
Yeah, sure. It'll be a favorite
My
for a while.
millennials used to complain about how loud I played No Agenda while taking a shower at 5 a.m. Well, no more. We are finally empty nesters, so my food costs have reduced along with water, electric, and such. Therefore, my savings are your gain. I'd like to call out two of those millennial sons, Joey. A dude named, give him a douchebag.
Yeah, Joey.
Douchebag. A dude named Ben. Douchebag. And Brandon, a dirtbag lawyer. Anyway,
they're all
Brandon's
douchebags.
The dirtbag lawyer is also a douchebag, apparently. But we don't know. We're just the messengers. They are successful in business and have not donated.
Ugh.
I've hit them in the mouth so much it's risking abuse. In conclusion, I wouldn't mind an invisible no agenda hat also. To those listening, chip in slaves. Chip in slaves.
Chip in
There's
slaves.
a problem with the cold read. It's funny. No, to those listening, chip in slaves.
All right.
Darren Walkman, a Buckeye.
Here's your hat. It's on its way with the drone. We're flying it to you. It's invisible, so it'll be, no one will see it.
I'm going to give you the whole load today.
Oh my gosh! Can you see that juice?
Don't laugh.
China is asshole.
Why you are laughing? Shut up.
You've got karma.
Now we have a person that needs to be. How do you spell his last name? Norda.
I see Norsa. It shouldn't be N-O. Is it Norsa or is it Noosa?
Norsa.
Oh, he's from Australia. So David Norsa. Is there an email for him?
I don't have one. I got Norsat International launches the Wayfarer service.
Okay, that would not be it. I do not have anything from, as far as I can tell, from David Norsa. Was that just a complete empty, no note donation?
Well, he's from Curl, $333. If he has a note for us, he will send it later. And he's in New South Wales.
Yes.
$333. Thank you for that. Now we have War and Peace.
It's an important one, though.
Written by Jennifer Weida.
Mm-hmm. Dame
and
Jennifer.
I can only read to a certain point because then it will not do a line-by-line scroll and it'll just jump. So I'm going to read the beginning and you can finish it. There's only one line, I think. Maybe there's not any. Thank you so much for the hard work and deep insights you consistently provide through the show. Now, without no agenda to serve as a rock of sanity the past year, I would have surely lost my mind and not because of the M5M. As you know, Sir Greg, the heavy metal historian, passed away at the end of January of this year. We are now just at the end of September, dispersing the proceeds of his estate to his beneficiaries. Knights, dames, producers, douchebags, and slaves, please, 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 for the sake of your family and loved ones, take the time to make a will and get your affairs in order ahead of time.
Do you have one?
Do you have one, John?
Have you done your will?
I have plenty of wills. No one wants
Am I
to
in
contemplate. What would you like? What would you like? What part of my estate would you enjoy owning?
No, I was just asking if you had thought of me. It's not about what it is.
I always think of you.
Okay, all right.
You're getting a pair of speakers.
Walnut grain.
No.
Is it from the Realistic brand?
No, I got quality here. I've got nothing but quality. Right. Invest a few $100s in making your will. Purchase burial, cremation insurance. Update your beneficiaries on your insurance policies and financial instruments, and consolidate all that paperwork into one place where it can be found upon your death. None of this was handled ahead of time. In the case of Sir Greg, in the midst of our grief, his family and I had to guess on whether he would have wanted to be buried, or cremated. We had to scour his home to gather paperwork on such things.
Like the deed to the house, title to his car.
Deed to the house, title to the car, and insurance policies. After the banking account for his estate was established and official death notices were published, we discovered further insurance policies that we had no paperwork on, a retirement account, and investment. Greg had begun to plan for leaving something to everyone, but all these policies were established years ago and never disclosed to anyone.
Ugh.
So this is what goes on. This is probably not uncommon.
It says, okay, lecture over. Now that the dust has settled on this, I'll be moving to Georgia to be closer to my family. May I please have real estate karma for both the sale of Greg's house and the purchase of my own home? I'd also like a dealer's choice, Reverend Al, and a Putin. Don't worry, be happy. Thank you both again for everything you do, and keep up the stellar work. And indeed, I read this because she sent the note through email, and I thought to myself, you should probably get that shit in order. I mean, just passwords alone. Wouldn't you like to at least have the passwords for, like noagendashow.com or the DNS for all of our domains? Wouldn't it be good if you had that or someone else had access to it? Can you imagine?
Otherwise, it's a pain in the ass.
Well, the show, look, if I go, the show's dead. If you go, I mean, it'll be a bad day, a day wrecker.
If I go, the show is broke, but not dead.
It's a day wrecker. We make fun of it because it's uncomfortable. But Jennifer, thank you so much for your support of the show. And we miss Sir Greg as well, of course. And we got some big heaping of karma coming your way, and some Al and Putin.
And we will much about that be committed. So there's no real conflict. Michael Druniak, including Lincoln himself, Daniel Day-Lewis. Behind Monica Lewinsky, the one and only Trey Songz is here. But Allison Lundergan Grimes, Gina Day Jesus, when Gina Day Jesus, Tea Party challenger Matt Bivens. People don't want to have their Social Security overall. The Republican savior, Mark Rubio's big night in evolution and Galileo. I mean, this whole thing of Galileo. America's changed. Unless IT and Skillets, President Putin doing something similar back in, it won't change this fundamental fact about the GOP. Just how absurd these attacks is. Nearly 6 months after the dangerous traffic jam, the Thai military says, my friend for many years, Ilyana Van Zandt.
Don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy.
You've got karma.
Well, that was a good collection that's fairly new.
Yeah, I looked for something special for her.
So there was, I didn't realize that he can't say Jesus or Jesus.
I guess not.
Jesus.
Or Skittles. That's still a tough one for the Rev. Skillets.
That's special.
Like, give me a mint tulip. A guy makes millions and has a TV show.
Yeah. On MSNBC, we should mention again, we're a globalist network.
Mm-hmm.
Comcast. Hello, Comcast. Pete Kokinis, I'm guessing, or Kokinis.
I actually have a Meetup report from him, which includes these donations. Shall I just?
Okay. Well, yeah.
Shall I read that?
Let's see.
Yeah, he's from Las Vegas, correct? Yes. Yes.
Doesn't say.
Adam John, we had a showing of 13 attendees for our Las Vegas meetup. It was a wonderful time. We all got along magnetically. I'll be sending a separate email containing the event photos, which did I see that? I don't think I saw the photos yet. They had a sign-in sheet and donations collected at the show. $200 from Dick Lull, who asked for goat karma, and $50 from Jason Doolin, Sir Jason of the Ox Carts, with a handwritten note, "Thanks for the good shows." Not collected at the show, but says he'll do a PayPal himself. $200. Jonathan Sims. I don't know if he came in on the spreadsheet, but that is the meetup report. I'm sad that we couldn't coordinate that. When we were there, because it sounds like a good group. 13 people is pretty darn good. And I think they had local people. A couple people came. I think some people came from Chicago.
Yeah,
crazy.
That's what I heard.
Crazy.
Okay.
And he, so that's the 250, and I'm going to hand out this karma. There we go.
You've got karma.
And thank you, Pete, for organizing
now
that.
we gotta decide what we're gonna do with this associate executive producership. Does it go to Dick or does it go to Pete? Dick or Pete or both? Well, we just put both of them.
That's a good. Well, I think what we do in the past is we say Las Vegas meetup.
Yeah, but but we have the call outs from the specific people. That's usually when it's just a bunch of money that comes in randomly. But now we have $200 from Dick. Dick's got to be on there.
Well, it's Dick's money. Pete is
Dick's money.
So Dick. By the way, Dick Lull, Lull, is kind of like, it's a Dutch joke, I think.
Well,
because LUL in Dutch is the same as Dick, only not the name
so it's
Dick.
Dick.
Dick. Exactly.
Okay, well, Dick should be on there then.
All right, then we'll put him instead of Pete.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pete's the organizer. He's the bundler.
Bundlers, nice. Yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah, we need more bundlers.
Mm-hmm.
Martin, we should put Pete's on name too, just because it maybe encourage more bundlers.
I got his name on there.
Martin Walla in Berlin, Deutschland, $250. Dear John and Adam, I've been listening to your show for a couple of months, almost every day. Well, it's only okay. Must be trying to catch up. It's great to hear you talking on a personal, humorous, and at sometimes intelligent. Oh no, same time intelligent way about the things that are going on in the world. Before listening to your show, I had tried some German radio and podcast shows, but they were either too boring or provided too little background information.
Well, that's because
I hope that
but they don't do that. If you want to do a podcast in Germany, it has to start off like this. Guten Tag, Arden.
Wie geht's, Deutschland? Here is the Hof.
That's how you started a podcast in Germany.
So I hope that this amount pays for the great value I get from you two. I'll make sure to work hard so that I can transfer my money directly to your bank account in the future. Until then, we need to talk about this at some point about different mechanisms. Until then, I'm happily continue with my monthly donations, even though it's only a small amount. By the way, I'm a teacher.
Okay.
The way you're talking about the youth of America holds true also for our teenagers here in Germany, at least in the Berlin area. They love participating in Fridays for the Future. But if you ask them what they would give up to save the environment, I've conducted a survey. Most of them would never free themselves from digital media like the computer or their smartphones. That means our only hope lies in the No Agenda family. All the best and good luck with your work. Wishes, Martin.
We certainly are different from a lot of people as a group. We have a lot of cool skills, and our amygdalas are normal size.
Yeah, we're not all screwed up.
No.
Okay, he doesn't ask for anything specific.
I'm going to give him a karma. Why not? I'm feeling groovy today.
You've got karma.
Now, Patrick Comer comes in. And once again, well, wait a minute. This may not be true. I'm looking at something here. I'm looking at the list of... No, this is not good. Nuts. Okay, this is my squirrel mail issue.
No! Yeah, whenever I hear those words, I know it's time to hit the button, because there's only one way. Whether you have electricity or not, there's only one way to do your email. That way is the way of John C. Dvorak. He knows how to find it. If you send him an email, he'll find it in one and only place. It is what we call the one and only best mail program on the earth. It is...
Yeah, there's nothing here. So. So Patrick Comer has not.
Great.
He's not sent a note in.
Great.
But he's our last guy on the list, and if he wants us to say something, he can send us a note later. And he came in with $200, and I want to thank you, Sir Patrick Comer.
Yeah, and I'm going to give him, since you don't have a note in mails,
you've got karma.
Make sure he's got a karma, just in case. Could never hurt, and we appreciate that, because you are now an associate executive producer, along with our other associate execs and our executive producers, for episode 1177 of the No Agenda Show, the best podcast in the universe. It's your podcast. These are your credits, because you are truly producers, and these credits can be used anywhere that they are recognized, they are valid, and they are valuable. And thank you for your courage. And for anyone who wants to get on this list, or the people we talk about in the next segment, all you have to do is go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
Now you know how to get down and dirty and to indoctrinate the children. Go and propagate.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
I did want to mention that, we don't take corporate money, we don't have advertising, and there's a couple reasons for it. The number one reason is we want to be able to do what we want to do and say what we want to say. We keep each other in check. The producers in Gitmo Nation keep us in check, and literally keep us in check by sending us checks to keep it going. There's other ways to do this, but it's not for us, and we don't think we'd have this kind of success. So when I get a note from now, Tina's nephew, now that we're married, is my nephew too, isn't it? Yeah, he's my nephew too.
He's your nephew-in-law.
Don't you just say nephew? You don't say nephew-in-law. You just say nephew, right? Well, anyway.
Nil, N-I-L, nephew-in-law, Nil. You call him a Nil.
Nil. But I'll call him nephew. So he listens to the show. He's one of the few people in the entire family. It's my wife and my Nil, my nephew-in-law, listen. And he's very upset.
Oh, okay.
He has an Android, and he uses the podcast player. And he says, I'm listening to the show, and he sent me a screenshot, and I'm listening to the vape segment. He says, and he showed me a ad for vaping shows up in the player above our podcast. Now, there's a couple things about this.
Wow, I'm personally, I'm impressed.
I'm impressed too, but I hate these douchebags for making money off of our show, because it's
actually somewhat illegal.
Here it is.
Well, let me give a story.
Yeah, go ahead.
There used to be in the early days, in the 90s, probably 96, I'm guessing, 97, there was a number of, and I thought this was a good idea at the time, there were a number of operations, supposed news operations, and they used frames.
Yes, frames, right.
And so they put
iframe, an iframe.
I don't know if it was called an iframe. It was called an iframe. It was just frame.
Oh, okay. It's before CSS.
It was an HTML code that would allow you to create a border around a web page that you could then display. So you display a New York Times web page, and under the guy, and it would have a little menu in the frame that was really owned by the guy that was that was pushing
whatever's in the frame. Yeah.
But the New York Times content, other people's content, was inside the frame, and they'd menu it up. Anyway, I thought this was creative, and I thought it was a good idea when people were doing it. But then they got sued by a number of people, even though it's just still links. I don't see personally. I didn't think it was a bad thing. Although this was the era when you're stealing bandwidth when you're linking to somebody else's photo, which long since ended because now the bandwidth is free. But so they got sued and they created a precedent for doing exactly what's going on with that ad on that. Well, that's actually illegal.
It's a little worse. It's a little worse than that because I'm looking at the screenshot and you see the player and then there's the controls about a third of the screen and then our 1176 Seuss Pete and then above that where our album art normally is a huge banner ad space filled in, which is a video about the youth e-cigarette epidemic. So it's clearly some propaganda but he was listening to that, and they pull that piece. They're I guess if they're transcribing on the fly, or they have a transcription track that runs alongside of it. And they decide to throw this up while he's listening to the vaping segment, and it covers our album art. Google, I don't wish bad on many people.
Is this the Google product?
It's the Android podcast player.
And it is the Google product.
It is the Google product, yeah.
Oh, this is actionable.
I really don't like that.
You want to make some extra money for the show? We any lawyers out there? I can tell you the precedents that are out there against make this illegal.
Yeah, of course I want to make money for the show, John, for the show. Well, okay. Maybe. I mean, it's going up against Google's not going to be easy. But above all, it's just swarmy. It's lame.
Swarmy.
Shawarma. It's scuzzy. It's low. I mean, if you want to get some free transcriptions from Google, it's a problem. They cut you off. I can't even. I've been banned for life from AdWords. Yet, no problem. We'll just stick this on your podcast, Curry, because they essentially took an MP3 player and jammed it into a web app. I don't use their products anymore, and I suggest everybody, certainly if you're on an iPhone, get Overcast. I'm not sure what the best Android app is, but anything with the Google podcast player, because those guys, I kind of wish them dead. Yeah, it really got to me yesterday. It's like it's one thing to throw an ad up, but to be contextualizing.
Give him a douchebag. At least that'll make you feel better.
Yeah. Okay. Google
douchebag. There you go.
I feel a little better. Thanks. I needed that.
Well, that is dumb. That's okay. I get it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, right? Now, before we go into Ukraine, I'd like to set it up because we talked about the disparities, the differences between what everyone was saying was in the transcript of the call between Zelensky and Trump. And what was actually in the transcript. So we heard that Saturday Night Live obviously used the popular version, which is, not at all reflected in the words. I'm not going to read the transcript again. There's only a couple paragraphs. You can read it. It's in the show notes. It's publicly available anyway. Even in the edited version from the New York Times, it still doesn't get to what people are saying. But the worst thing, and this happened on show day, that's why I have to play it today, is when they had a session of the Intelligence Committee, and the Intelligence Committee oversees the entire intelligence apparatus. These guys, they have a lot of information. They get to go to the SCIF, so the secure room, to read documents that no one else in Congress can read. And it's headed, the chair of this committee, the boss of the oversight of the Intelligence Committee, is Adam Schiff of California. And we heard him on the last show talk about it's a mafia, just like a mafia don. Now, when you have a hearing, and I think this was the opening statement before the McGuire testimony, which was a dud otherwise, the chairman who controls the time, controls the whole situation, does his own opening statement. And the opening statement is anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes long, and it really is meant to set the tone for, of course, that party's viewpoint of the hearing, and then there's always the ranking member from the other side who gets to do his opening statement. But when you do an opening statement, you want to kind of stick to the facts. But what Adam Schiff did was mind-blowing just from a procedural standpoint of how the Oversight Committee, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, runs his meeting.
And so what happened on that call? Zelensky begins by ingratiating himself, and he tries to enlist the support of the president. He expresses his interest in meeting with the president and says his country wants to acquire more weapons from us to defend itself. And what is the president's response? Well, it reads like a classic organized crime shakedown. Shorn of its rambling character and in not so many words, this is the essence of what the president communicates.
Now, so he's already lying because the request, which wasn't a request, but hey, I'm almost ready to buy your Javelin anti-tank weaponry, was not immediately followed up by a request. That came much later in the conversation. So that's already not true, or heavily editorialized at best. And now here is Schiff's interpretation of the transcript of the call.
We've been very good to your country, very good. No other country has done as much as we have. But you know what? I don't see much reciprocity here. I hear what you want. I have a favor I want from you, though. And I'm going to say this only 7 times, so you better listen good. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent, understand lots of it. On this and on that, I'm going to put you in touch with people, not just any people. I'm going to put you in touch with Attorney General of the United States, my Attorney General, Bill Barr. He's got the whole weight of the American law enforcement behind him. And I'm going to put you in touch with Rudy. You're going to love him, trust me. You know what I'm asking, and so I'm only going to say this a few more times, in a few more ways. And by the way, don't call me again. I'll call you when you've done what I asked. This is, in sum and character, what the president was trying to communicate with the president of Ukraine. It would be funny if it wasn't such a graphic portrayal of the president's oath of office.
I mean,
well, you do know what Schiff said afterwards, right? You do have that.
Afterwards, what, on the panel?
No, what he said. Like,
he said it was a parody.
Yeah, so it was a satire.
Yeah.
What the hell is he talking about? What kind of a satire is this?
Yeah, it wasn't a satire. But this is what I was talking about earlier. Here's one of these old school politicians who thinks, I'll just go up there, which is what all these hearings, most of it's already, the questions are known, the answers are known. It's all kind of scripted. It's all for television to get a soundbite. And that's all he's doing. Like, I'll do this. And, they have no problem lying about what's in this transcript. Whatever happened, you can't say, this happened, it's in the transcript, when it's not in the transcript. But they believe they still can do it. They've forgotten that the people actually do have access, and we do have ways to communicate other truths or other realities. But
other realities is definitely the thing, which brings me to some clips I wanted to play.
Good.
And I want to start with the one that came last week, because there's some talking points in here that you'll hear again from Brooks. I'm going to do Shields and Brooks because they have a pretty good analysis that it's not a believable one, but it's pretty good. But let's listen first to Al Green in Impeach. This is the Impeach Al Green clip.
You've been calling for starting articles of impeachment since 2017, but a new Quinnipiac poll taken after the release of the redacted Mueller report found that 66% say Congress should not start impeachment proceedings. And there's a sharp partisan divide, as we all know, with only 4% of Republicans favoring impeachment. Congressman, are you concerned that impeachment talk may actually help the president's reelection?
I'm concerned that if we don't impeach this president, he will get reelected. If we don't impeach him, he will say he has been vindicated. He will say the Democrats had an overwhelming majority in the House and they didn't take up impeachment. He will say that we had a constitutional duty to do it if it was there and we didn't. He will say that he has been vindicated. But here's what I say. We're confronting a constitutional crisis as I speak to you. As I look the people of America in the eye, I'm telling you we have a constitutional crisis. When the chief executive officer, the President of the United States, refuses to comply with subpoenas and says he will order others to do so, this creates a constitutional crisis. But this isn't the genesis of it. It started when the president decided he would fire Mr. Comey for his failure, as a result of his desire not to be investigated.
I love the beginning of that. If we don't impeach him, he'll get reelected. We can't have that.
Yes, this is the attempt to. That's election interference, as far as I'm concerned. But
he's saying it.
See a lot of different ways.
He's actually literally saying it.
Yeah, he's saying what is the fact, which is if we don't impeach him, he's going to get reelected, and we can't have that. We don't want the public involved in what's going on.
No.
So let's go with, we have Brooks and Shields. I got two clips here. I want to make sure I don't do the right. Okay, this is the one I want. This is Shields and Brooks. Why not? No, wait. Oh, man, I forgot which is which. But let's start with this one. Shields and Brooks. This is Shields. This is about Shields and his theory on impeachment. Wait. Let me. I got to set this up because it's kind of complicated.
No kidding.
In fact, let's go back to the other clip. Shields and Brooks. Shields, why not to do it? Now, this is Brooks actually talking about why not to impeach the president. And you're going to hear kind of the same talking points that Al Green has, which makes me think. And Brooks, of course, is a phony
Republican,
conservative, phony Republican. He's actually a Democrat, but he's sitting in that booth to give us the balance that they do on PBS. There's no balance whatsoever, but he has pretty much the same idea as Al Green, which makes me think there's some talking points going around about this. And Al Green was less erudite about it. And I think Brooks has got it kind of nailed.
Inquiry. The House is doubling down. We had Adam Schiff, the chairman of the House Intelligence, on the program last night saying this is more serious than the Mueller report, which they spent months and months considering.
Right. It's certainly narratively cleaner. You can understand it when Russia was much more complicated. And to me, the decision to do impeachment is a mistake. I do agree Trump did something impeachable, but this is a political process, not a legal process. There's no obligation to prosecute. And to me, it's a mistake for a couple of reasons. If your object is to get Donald Trump out of the White House, impeachment does not get you there. Because the chance that you will get 20 Republican senators to vote Donald Trump out of office seems to me so remote, it's minuscule. So the likely outcome of this is that Donald Trump will say, see, I was acquitted in the Senate. I've vindicated. I beat these people. And so he'll get a little victory, and then both parties will go into revolt. And so that's the way it likely looks to end up. In the meantime, you're trampling over your Democratic primary season. You're not having the debate the voters want, which is about climate change and health care and jobs and stuff like that. You're focusing all the attention on the Democratic side, or the bulk of it, to the Congress, not to the presidential candidates. And to me, so what Pelosi's done, I think, here is taken a decision that has a very low chance of succeeding to get him out of office, but has huge risks in ways we can't even imagine. And so I'm a little nervous about where impeachment is going to get us.
Do you think the Democrats are doing the right thing or not?
The Democrats are doing the only thing they can do. I mean, what this president has done is not outrageous. It's not indefensible. It's criminal. And that's what he's done. He has totally abdicated, abrogated, and corrupted his oath of office.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Hey, there's something else. Go ahead, finish this, and I have a thought about the impeachment process. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, anyway, he was the same as Al Green's talking points. Yeah. Only Al Green was coming from the direction of having him impeached and having these negative effects if he's not impeached. Brooks sees it the other way, but it's the same thing. But meanwhile, since the Lib-Joes in the audience
yes.
that I they're all in on this is the end, and apparently Chris Matthews, I don't have the clip, says he's done.
May I explain? When we say Lib-Joes, John has a few very well-known journalist
I live in
friends.
California, so most of my friends are liberal.
But these are well-known, famous
They're
writers. Famous. And they're
they were.
So they're libjos. Yeah, well, in my mind, they're famous.
They're still famous,
as libjos.
But so they are the same thing. He's done. Finally, we got something on the guy. He's doomed. And they won't put their money down, though. I think I've taken too much money from them. It's really been a mistake of mine by overdoing it. But so a lot of it is going to stem from what you're going to hear here, which is this is Shields, who thinks he's a criminal, he's the worst guy in the world, he hates his guts and all the rest of it. Really, real journalistic integrity here. But what he's about to express is, I believe, and it's somewhat self-contradictory, because what he's about to express says that Trump doesn't have a chance in the world of winning the election anyway, so what's the point of impeachment? But he also takes the Al Green side, well, because we have to do it, because he made these mistakes, so we have to do it. But there is a note of, I don't want to call it straight denial. I think it's more delusional. But when you listen to this, you're going to hear what their what the libjo mentality is and why they think Trump is done and what is going on. And it's just I thought it was surreal when I heard it, though. I said, I know that's where these guys are thinking.
So when you just break down the logic chain, it's a very clear, we did this for you, you owe us, here's what you can do for us. And it's not an explicit quid pro quo, but it comes pretty close, I think.
Are there shades of questions here about what happened in that conversation, Mark, or is it clear-cut for you?
It's clear-cut, Judy. I mean, what it puts to rest is the lie about the confidence of the Trump campaign. We're leading in all polls where we're heading. He was so terrified, so intimidated, the President of the United States got on the phone with the leader of Ukraine to get dirt on the one Democrat who in every major poll was beating him. And that candidate's son. I mean, this shows the terror, the intimidation, and the false bravado is just totally exposed. And it is, David. I think David was more than kind. It is totally explicit. This is a country, Judy, that it has a smaller army than that of Sri Lanka. I mean, it's sitting on the doorstep of Russia that has shown nothing but imperial totalitarian impulses toward it. It translated into physical action. It's got an economy smaller than that of El Salvador, and we're holding $451 million. And the President of the United States, it's a supplicant mendicant. It's the boss. To the lowest employee. I mean, the power is totally disproportionate. Anybody has to acknowledge that who sees it.
And David, you still have Republicans, though, saying entirely appropriate for the President of the United States to be saying to the leader of Ukraine, we want you to clean up corruption in your country. That was what
that is appropriate, I suppose, to say. But, the Republicans are not going to break on this. And that's, I think, as we look at impeachment, I vaguely remember Watergate. I was young, but I remember a sense of gravity, a sense that we're stepping outside our party lines. At least some people did that, Sam Ervin, other people, Howard Baker, and we're going to weigh the evidence. And this is so serious, we can't just play normal politics. That's not going to happen this time.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, let's go over what we just heard. Besides Brooks coming on and talking nonsense about Watergate, he didn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Because Watergate never went to impeachment because the Republicans didn't like, certain ones didn't like Nixon. They didn't like the break, and it was thuggery. It was bad. And Goldwater was included in the guys who went over and told Nixon to quit. But there's that also. Brooks also says, I'm supposed to say something. And he said something. I thought that was a little revealing. But the main thesis of Shields is the following. Trump is a wimpy little kid scared to death of Biden because he knows that Biden will kick his ass in the general election, and it's all false bravado because he sees the polls, and the polls say, as if he believes those, he sees the polls, and every poll says Biden, 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 and Shields is a Biden supporter. And so it got him freaked out because he's so timid, this Trump guy, that he called the guy, or actually the Ukrainian called him, but it's beside the point. Let's change the narrative. He calls him to get dirt on Biden because he knows he's screwed if he has to run against Biden, who will kick his ass.
Yeah, but this is...
Are you nuts?
This is the Hillary script, man. This is the kind of things they come up with. It's nutty. It's completely nutty. And there's a couple of interesting extra data points that I've come across in the timeline. The first one is that on August 29th, almost a month before this story broke, Adam Schiff, chairman of the Intelligence Committee, tweeted the following. Trump is withholding vital military aid to Ukraine while his personal lawyer seeks help from the Ukraine government to investigate his political opponent. It doesn't take a stable genius to see the magnitude of this conflict or how destructive it is to our national security. So he knew this a month ago. Second piece of interesting data on the timeline. Somewhere between May and August, and this call took place in July, the intelligence community changed a requirement that whistleblowers provide first direct-hand knowledge of alleged wrongdoings. So they changed the rules so that apparently this whistleblower transcript would fit within the whistleblower rules of the intelligence community.
Right. It didn't. Before that, it did not fit.
It did not fit. So there's a couple things. What seems to have happened is this was more likely a leaker, and how this happened, I'll circle back. The leaker went, oh, hey, I've got this. We got some stuff going on. But that had to come out in an official way, so the leaker became a whistleblower. But they kind of had it set up. And the setup you could see because Nancy had her stage with her flags. Joe Biden had his stage with the flags. But then I think something went wrong, which was probably Trump releasing the transcript. At this point, because, why else would he be? I mean, Schiff is really unhinged here with what he's doing. He shouldn't have to do that if they had just some good, hearsay stuff and a whistleblower complaint. And the whistleblower complaint, if that were the document, which former director of national intelligence Clapper analyzed on CNN.
First, I've seen many whistleblower complaints during my time as DNI, and this one was the best written, best researched. It was footnoted. Mm-hmm. It didn't get ahead of its skis, the ski tips. It was very compelling and very convincing, I think. It was written in the style of a seasoned intelligence analyst, and it approaches the quality of a national intelligence estimate, which is kind of the apex report that the intelligence community issues.
One of the many things suggested by this whistleblower was that he or she spoke to many White House officials and government officials. The president has now suggested that these people are tantamount to spies, and he mused, how spies used to be treated when committing treason, which of course is they were executed. So what message do you believe that sends to either A, whistleblowers, or B, people who might be witnesses in this investigation?
Well, I thought that statement, and as usual, extemporaneous, was reprehensible. I'm not a lawyer, but it smacked to me of potential witness tampering, and it certainly is a chilling message to others who might consider being a whistleblower. And the whole point of the whistleblower, in fact, the law governing the Whistleblower Protection Act, one of the major features of it is to insulate complainants from retaliation. And I'm kind of looking to some of the Republican champions of whistleblowing to speak to this, which probably won't happen.
Yeah, I could have actually cut that off earlier. But you get the idea. This is not...
Tell this to Thomas Drake and Bill Binney.
Yeah, exactly. This is This is not your run-of-the-mill whistleblower. If you've seen it, and we had it in the show notes for the last episode, it has tons of footnotes, references. I mean, it's an analyst piece. It's well done. And here's what I'm thinking: it's maybe possible because, and then I'll get into the procedure that we're talking about, that the whistleblower may have been set up. And in fact, I'll take it one step further after having heard the Ukrainian president speaking with President Trump at the United Nations. I'm even thinking this might have been scripted for this case specifically. I know 3D chess, all that bullcrap, but Trump was ready for this. His campaign had ready-made, pre-produced videos about impeachment, and the Democrats are crazy. I do need to read the Thursday. I read a couple of the Win Red, which is the president's son-in-law's outfit. All GOP fundraising, all Republican fundraising is done through Win Red. They take 6% off the top. I find it to be a huge, insulting scam. Just to let you know, and of course he comes, I raised $13 million. Well, this is how it's done. So it's not. This is not defense. This is full-on offense. Why aren't you standing with President Trump? He needs you on his impeachment defense team, Adam. These are text messages. These are customized, individualized text messages. All gifts 2x matched. Reply yes to donate $100. I wonder who's...
Yeah, you read this last time, and I forgot. I was going to bring it up, but I didn't bring it up. What is this 2x match? Who's doing the matching?
I don't know.
And by the way, when I hear that, I consider that to be one of the world's worst scams.
Well, so Friday,
because somebody who is doing, who's the person? Do you have a friend?
I have no idea. I don't know who's doing the matching. I don't know. But let me continue reading. So Friday, I get a couple more. President Trump, impeachment? No. More like witch hunt. Help crush our quarterly goal in 3 days. Gifts are 4x matched for 1 hour. Reply yes to donate $100. Next. 3 days left. This impeachment scam against President Trump is just beginning. We need you before our deadline. All gifts 4x matched. 4x matched donation. Missing. President Trump hasn't seen your name, Adam. This is too critical to sit on the sidelines. Donate now. This is President Trump. I'm calling on you to crush another huge fundraising record. For the next hour, all gifts will be quadrupled. Where have you been? 1 day left. President Trump called on you, Adam, to crush our goal. Don't wait. Donate now. It'll be quadrupled. I share this with Tina. She's like, she's never, and she's a fundraising professional. She's never seen this aggressive tactic take place. Ever.
Well, you can't do it. You can't pull that stunt unless you're under the gun. I mean, then the Democrats have provided that the gun.
They have provided quite the gun. And
so the Democrats provided the gun, which becomes a gold mine for fundraising on the Trump side, especially if they're going to take the tactic they're taking,
now,
which is like,
let's take it one step further.
This would, by the way, I would say this, and I don't want to say Republicans are generally smarter than Democrats, because I'm sure they got all kinds of money that just going in there. But the Democrats seem to be the type that are more susceptible to this sort of fear-mongering, as shown by the climate change folk.
Yes.
Being scared to death about everything. Oh, my God, we're all going to die. And that's their mentality, whereas the Republican side is, it seems unlikely.
Now,
and so the Republicans, it's possible, and I'm trying to deconstruct what they're up to from fundraising perspective. Mm-hmm. It's possible that the Republicans are so laid back about this sort of scare tactic that they have to go into overdrive with the 3x, 4x, where's your name? It's not on the list, really threatening you to get you to do anything, because it sounds to me as though this is an extreme tactic to get people to donate.
Well, it's probably not even about the money. It's, as you say, it's purely to get the base riled up, and it's not working on me. But
of course not. You're not the base.
But the process of impeachment is interesting, and just to make sure people understand, that there's no real rule for process on what the House does to get to voting on the articles of impeachment. So, and it's been done different ways in the House of Representatives, but ultimately all they have to do is vote on and filed the articles of impeachment. Then it goes to the Senate. Now, the Senate trial, which would have to be won by 3/4 of the Senate, is not the grandstanding we're used to. It is an actual trial with actual trial lawyers. The senators don't get to question. They don't get to grandstand. No, they sit there as, in effect, the jury of the people of the country. And you can call any witness you want. Can you imagine calling Hillary Clinton, calling Cheryl Mills, calling Robert Mueller? Imagine Mueller on the stand.
If they went to the Senate, which I don't believe it will, I think I still stick with my theory, which is this is just to get a lot of negative attention, supposedly to hurt Trump's candidacy. Mm-hmm. That's all it is.
I agree.
And so this vote will never happen. Because if the Senate got a hold of it, and it's a Republican-dominated Senate, and it was also with Clinton, and the Senate back then said, we're not even going to take this, and they just tossed it out. Mm-hmm. But in this case, because it's so annoying and it's their same party. With Clinton, it was a different party, but they still threw it out. They're not going to throw this. They would sit down and they could reopen the entire Mueller investigation, find out who started it, why it started, open lots of documents you've never seen before. They could bring anybody up. We've had one guy wrote in and gave us an outline of the worst case scenario. And it could be pretty bad for the Democrats. That's why this is not going to happen. And even after the election, there's no road that anyone sees where the Democrats are going to take over the Senate.
The funny thing is, in an odd way, it's not going to happen. I agree. Let's say Trump was impeached. Somehow, half the Republican senators are sick, and he gets, they go through the trial, and he gets impeached, and he's out of office. He could actually run again for 2 more terms if he won. I mean, it's a crazy situation. But I totally concur. That's not going to happen. They're not stupid. They don't want an actual. Nobody on the Democrat side and probably some Republicans don't want any of this to go to trial for what might actually come out. Because man, that's when the dirty laundry would be aired. But it feels to me like they got caught off guard. I got to play this clip. Nancy Pelosi responded again outside of her stand-up speech, and either she has completely lost it, or she's completely lost it.
It is wrong for any foreign government to interfere in our elections, and here you have the President of the United States asking for that. So it is, again, now we're engaged in a cover-up of that, but the cover-up of the cover-up, 2 wrongs do not make a right. And the president's going to have to answer that, and they know how wrong it is. So it's wrong as we saw with Russian interference. And by the way, I think Russia has a hand in this, by the way. Mm-hmm. But we saw with the Russian disruption of our election last time, their interference, 100% confidence of the intelligence community, high confidence of the intelligence community that the Russians disrupted our election. That was wrong.
Now, you hear Nancy say 2 things. One, she says, I think the Russians had a hand in this. And then she stumbles, corrects herself. Well, the intelligence community said 100% confidence. No, they didn't actually. They didn't say 100% confidence that the Russians meddled in our election. She corrects herself, a high confidence, just like the bullcrap climate change reports. High confidence. It's not proof. It's not 100% assertion. It's, we got high confidence in that. So I don't know what's wrong with her, but she's off her rocker. Here's just a very short 23-second clip of her, I think, continuing. It's probably in that same vein. I don't know. This is Pelosi rambling about Trump and what America is.
What's more serious is that he can't win. That is very serious to our country, to us as America. What is America? America is our Constitution with our system of checks and balances, a republic, freedom of expression, freedom of the press, the guardian of our democracy, the press. That's one. That's America.
Smoke
By
coming
the way,
out
I
of her
should
ears.
say this. The Libjos did a back and forth with their the idealistic situation. And I don't know where they got this one. Trump gets impeached, then Pence gets impeached. For what? I don't know. But he gets impeached, and then Nancy Pelosi's the president.
Yeah. And that these are serious journalists who are actually contemplating this scenario.
Yeah.
I find that sad, and that's troubling because I don't know. There must be so much hatred there. I don't understand that at all. I don't understand. Now,
it's befuddling.
I did put some work into Hunter Biden because what I heard continuously on the M5M is, well, everyone already looked into Hunter Biden. I was all kosher. What are you talking about? Nothing wrong there. He could sit on the board of anything he wants. He got paid money. What you do? So a lot of that. So I went and took a look. And yes, the New York Times did some puff piece on whatever his role was. But the New Yorker magazine did quite an in-depth look at Hunter Biden's life. It's in the show notes. It's called "Will Hunter Biden Jeopardize His Father's Campaign?" It was not written around this recent fracas, but before. And Hunter Biden, when they said, yeah, it was trouble, cocaine. No. This guy's entire life, and it's sad, has been one of alcoholism, addiction. I'm talking like getting caught with cocaine in his urine and then making up a story that someone laced a cigarette with crack, actually smoking crack, stealing money. This guy has been to the bottom. Sad, in hotel rooms for a week on end, completely strung out. Not just a little coke now and then. The guy has serious, serious problems. What is really, and of course there's no investigation, no reporting being done on this, but there's another player, Kerry's kid, John Kerry's kid was also in this, they together had a lobbying firm, a hedge fund. They actually got Chinese involved before this Ukraine board meeting. And it was to help their Chinese client place an investment in what's the name of the Burisma? I think is the is the name of the oligarch's oil company that Hunter Biden was on the board of, and Kerry's kid was there too, and then some ex-model from Abercrombie and Fitch. I mean, you can just see these guys are big cock around town on K Street picking up money and doing all kinds of deals because the guy is the vice president's son. And he even lived in the same house as the vice president, his dad. And in the New Yorker piece, it says, well, we just didn't talk about my clients. Yeah, okay, sure. It's scandalous. And NPR is trying to figure it out. And even they're having trouble.
There was a movement among Ukraine's new administration to investigate corruption. The company that same year, in 2014, suddenly appointed Joe Biden, then the vice president's son, Hunter. And that obviously raised questions of a perceived conflict of interest and why they might have wanted someone in the Obama administration on their side.
But why did Hunter Biden take the job? I mean, as many said at the time, he was a corporate lawyer. He had no experience in Ukraine. What's the reason he took it?
I can't speak to the reason that he might have taken it, but it's clear that he actually had no other value or brought no other value to the company, except for the fact that he was related to someone in a senior position of the administration.
Well, and his critics and Trump supporters say it was also because of the enormous amount of money he was being paid to sit on that board. I've seen some reports of $50,000 a month, and that was a way of taking money out of the country. That's how President Trump and his supporters have positioned it.
That's true. The president and his supporters have focused on the large sums of money that Hunter Biden was paid. I think that it's one of these things where it's clearly unethical. It's not illegal. It was declared and open. But it's also quite ironic, of course, that the president would be objecting to this when he had hired as his campaign chairman Paul Manafort, who was documented receiving up to $12.5 million in off-the-books payments through shell companies that were set up in Belize and Kyrgyzstan. So there seems to be a strange focus on the elements of our system that are open to perceived corruption from the president and his supporters in one case, but not in another one.
Well, and that's, by the way, one of the reasons Paul Manafort is in jail.
I'm having a hard time figuring out what they're going to say.
Can't put it. Then what she just said means that maybe Biden's kid should be in jail.
He should be in jail. Exactly.
Oops.
So you have Joe, just not a very chipper 76-year-old. Happens. Different people have different brain functions at different ages, and not everyone can be like, Hills. So we've got...
or Bernie.
Or Bernie, yeah. I mean, even Trump, he's 73. Elizabeth Warren is 70. But Joe is just not the guy. He's not the guy to do it. Everybody knows it. Joe knows it. It was his book, do this for me, Dad, as his son is dying. Everyone else is crap.
I remember that Hunter Biden married the dead son's wife.
Oh, yeah. And divorced again. And then he married some filmmaker from South Africa. So I have a feeling that this was meant to go a little differently, not with a transcript from the president. It was meant to really get the impeachment going based upon a real impeachable, or at least a fuzzy enough story. They don't have a fuzzy story. And not to throw Joe under the proverbial bus, but they did. I think they had to sacrifice him. Joe's no good. Elizabeth Warren is the enemy of the banks. Bernie has been effectively cut off once again by the M5M. And Kamala doesn't matter. No, these other people don't matter.
No, that's why.
So Hillary has to be the candidate, and it would have to be.
She has to come back, and she will.
What is the filing deadline, and when is the next debate? You said after the next debate.
We're a year ahead of this. Is the filing deadline to get on the ballot? Probably next year sometime.
No. I think it's this November. I think it's a year in advance, I think.
Well, maybe. Whatever the case is, it's always been perceived because of the following reasons. I'll repeat it. When Clinton got into the race, Bill, to run against H.W., who just as the economy was going down and he was sick, it was going to be Mario Cuomo was going to be chosen. There's all these different Democrats, and it was always going to be seen as a lost cause because you can't beat the incumbent. Mm-hmm. And so Bill, as things were just falling apart, they couldn't find anybody that was worth a powder. Bill jumped in October of the same year that we're in now. It would be the equivalent of this year. And Hillary has decided supposedly that she's going to now, because she screwed up the last time and the time before, she screwed up twice now. She screwed up against Obama, and now she screwed up against Trump. This time she's going to follow the pattern of Bill and jump in October, and she's gonna dog his old model, and this is going to make her president. And this is why we're waiting for October. But I said that I will take her off my candidates list as potential candidate or potential nominee on November 1st, because she will jump in October, and that will probably be, I'm guessing, after the next debates.
Affiliates, due to some technical difficulties, I am warning you that we are running long.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab.
Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
And of course, we do have some people to thank for show 1177, starting with Viscount Donald Borowski, who is now being upgraded to Earl. I hope he's on the list.
Yes, he is.
He does send a note in as usual, and I will read it. With luck, this donation will arrive on time for the show on Sunday. Failing that, it will arrive in time for the show on Thursday, which is, to me, is the other Sunday of the week. To contradict your two Thursdays. Mm-hmm. The donation upgrades me to Earl/Count. I choose the rarely used Count designation. I didn't put that in there, sorry. And I think it's allowable. The rarely used Count designation. So his new peerage level does not entitle me to additional territories, but I already have designs on additional lands for when I reach the status of Duke. So he is currently the Sir Donald the Firebottles Viscount of the Eastern Washington State, and he will be Sir Donald the Firebottles Count of Eastern Washington State, if you can make that correction.
Oh, okay. And hold on. So not Earl, but Count.
Count
of Washington State?
Eastern Washington State.
Eastern Washington State. You got it. Eastern. Is it Washington?
WA6 OMI 73s.
Yeah, 73s. Kilo 5 Alpha Charlie. I'll be monitoring 33 Charlie on the D-Stars after the show. And K9MLS, Mike out there in Wisconsin, says that my node is ready and should have it by the end of this coming week to set up. And so we can complete or start building the No Agenda Ham network. Still need a name for it, but that's what we're going with loosely. Very excited. Very excited to meet all the hams on the All-Star links.
Danielle Williams is next on the list, $100.33 from Mount Shasta, California. She would like some travel karma. We'll give her that at the end. Ono Priester, $100. Sir Eric Hertha in Nashville, Tennessee, $100. Paul Malpas in Luxembourg. Greetings from Luxembourg, he says. Stay woke, 88008.
I think we have a... no, we had the Luxembourg report we had the other day. It was 2 people. Hey, it was a meetup.
We got Luxembourg.
We got Luxembourg. Hell, it's only
we got Luxembourg locked up.
Only 40,000 people in Luxembourg, so it's a pretty good percentage. Yes. Yeah, we're doing pretty good.
They're all bankers.
Yeah.
Kelly Flanagan, McCall, Idaho, 6611. Mary Bruff in Denver, Colorado, 6543.
And she needs a douche. I'd like a de-douching. I'll give her a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
And to hit my brother Elvis Bruff in the mouth, I'd also like a birthday call out for myself, October 1st. Yes, you're on the list. I'm always propagating the formula to all the social justice warriors at my school and job. I tell so many people to listen to the show and donate. I'm practically your free sponsor. But this is the best podcast in the universe, so keep up the great work. Thank you, Mary. More dames. It's a Dame donation drive here on the No Agenda Show.
Dame donation drive. Whoops, let me get that right.
It's the Dame donation drive.
Beauty. A thing of beauty.
Brian Dennis in Kamloops, Ontario, Canada, I think. It's pronounced Kamlaki, he says. Cam Lackey. Okay, I can remember that. Cam Lackey, 5555. Ivar Vandervelde in Veningen, Netherlands.
Hold on. Wageningen. Very good.
5510. Nancy Murphy in San Bruno, California, 5244. Come to a meetup, Nancy. Sir Michael Black Knight of the Dude's Name Band and Snohomish, Washington, 5177.
Love you, Snohomish.
Snohomish. And it's different than Sammamish. Brad Horwitz in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, 5001. Then we go to Eric Dutro in Flint, Michigan, 50. These are all $50 donors. Let me just go with name and location. Eric Dutro, John Short, Chris Gromoli in Kingston, New York. Kingston. Robert Fittler in Mars, Pennsylvania. Russell Smalley in Edmond, Oklahoma. Dennis Covell. James Smith in Kelso, Washington. Richard Gardner, Sir Richard Gardner to you. Jeffrey Zellen in Oakland, Michigan. And last but not least, Sir Brian Watson in Raleigh, North Carolina.
And we thank all of these fine producers for producing episode 1177 episodes, times that a couple hours per show. That's how long we've been doing this, and you producing this is a joy, and it's yes.
I was going to say it is a joy, but I want to interrupt and read a very snide comment from Sir Michael Black Knight of the Dude's Name Ben, who just writes on his note. I just thought it was humorous. Say what you want about pedophiles. At least they drive slowly through school zones.
That's funny. I wasn't going to bring it up, but there's a new rule now that I don't know which airline it is. When you check in, they will now show on the check-in map where passengers with young children or babies are, so you can choose a different seat. How long will it take them to figure out that the creeps are the ones that are selecting the seat next to the children? I mean, do they not see the fallacy of their ways? I guess not.
God.
I guess not.
I also want to thank DC Girl for sending me a note and some autographs. We found a community at the No Agenda meetup. It was the DC meetup, I guess, in Washington, DC. I want to share a little bit. That looks like a pretty good group. So I want to thank her.
And this is not the first time they've done the meetup there.
No, they said apparently it's going to be a permanent. It's a little group of friends now.
Yes, it is. And they also all hang out on noagendasocial.com. And ever since I put the invite on the show notes, got a lot of people signing up. We have over 4,000 people who are signed up to noagendasocial.com. And it's a lot better experience than Twitter. You can actually see what someone posts if you follow them. The algo doesn't obfuscate it or hide it or not deliver it to you. It's just, and another thing we don't need. We don't need Twitter. We don't need Facebag. We got our fine little places over here. But thank you, all of you are producers. Those of you who came in under $50 are not mentioned for brevity, but also a lot of people like to stay anonymous, and multiple donations there are from one of our programs, which you can all find at
Dvorak.org/NA.
Some karmas people need.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs. You thought. Karma.
Well, stand back for the big birthday announcement for today, the end of September, the 29th of September, 2019. We say happy birthday to Mary Bruff. She celebrates on the 1st of October. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. And that's literally how short the list was.
No agenda meetups.
It's like a party! That's right, No Agenda Meetups, where you can connect with producers all across Gitmo Nation. All over the world, meetups are taking place. All different sizes. You can find anything near you at noagendameetups.com. If there's nothing near you, you can always start your own. I have a couple of meetup reports. First, the Victoria, BC meetup. John and Adam, here's a report from the NA meetup in the prettiest little city on the west coast, Victoria, BC, Scandinavia. Another successful meetup for No Agenda listeners in the Victoria area. We had 6 people out for the meetup, including my 2 human resources. A good mix of guys came out. We had some good discussion with my boys, even offering up some opinions on such things as the climate crisis. Protests that were happening in Victoria on the 27th. This is Victoria's version of Greta's Friday climate strike. My 12-year-old got out of school for the day to check it out, about 40 minutes, and then go goof off downtown for the rest of the day with his buddies. Seems they were more excited about getting the day off school than watching a bunch of people march with protest signs. Of course, we had your heads on a stick and attached a couple of photos. I believe those are in the meetup report, and we thank you very much for that. The last show, the first Thursday of the week, I was about to bring you the Burning Man meetup report when your power went out. Appropriate when you think about it. But there was a meetup. There were No Agenda producers at the meetup at Burning Man. Basil Knight of the Warmicorns from Canary Cry Radio and Canary Cry News Talk, bringing us the report from Black Rock City. That's at the Burning Man. Big thanks to Jason from Chad's Ford for putting it together. The meetup at Camp Big Puffy Yellow was a success. In total, 5 attendees. Jason from Chad's Ford, Bobby from the Big Island, Jen Doe, Brian, and myself. Technically 6 if you count the infamous other Jason sleeping on a dusty couch in the corner. Conversation topics range from the classic M5M slamming for cure to enlarge amygdala and, of course, lizard people. We also played a rousing game of Who's the Douche? I think they need a jingle, John. They need a jingle. Come on, do your jingle.
I don't have a jingle, but I can do
your
this.
horn. Yeah.
Who's the douche?
Beautiful. It was a highlight of my Burning Man experience to meet up with some fellow trans-dimensional thinkers in the sea of Dimension B bots. Although we all ended up agreeing that there are far more no-agenda types at Burning Man than the event gets credit for. Thanks to Brian from the Big Island for bringing a refreshing thermos full of fresh, cold smoothies, and Jason for popping a bottle of Cook champagne. Also, quick shout-out to Gons, Knight of the Samurai Babies, who was with us in spirit but had to stay behind to perform his fatherly duties, or duties, as it were. If anyone's interested in hearing some boots-on-the-ground reporting from Burning Man, just bing Burning Man Canary Cry Radio or search for it in your podcast app. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to hear that. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, there's always someone from No Agenda Nation nearby. And that's fine. That's fantastic. So running through quickly through the meetups for the next 2 weeks, or for the month of October, on the 3rd, Shanghai, Myrtle Beach. And Seattle, Shanghai, Myrtle Beach, and Seattle, 3 on October 3rd. October 4th, Utrecht in the Netherlands. October 5th, Charleston, South Carolina. Also one in Worcester, Massachusetts. October 10th, South Austin. Hey, that's a new one. October 10th. I think I can go there. I live in South Austin. October 11th,
it's
Tokyo.
At your house.
Hey, guess what? October 19th, Atlanta. October 20th, Louisville, Kentucky. The 24th, Nashville, Tennessee. October 25th, Portland, North Carolina. And October 26th, Nashville, Tennessee. And also Colorado Springs. And let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. No, that's what I have on the list. Go to noagendameetups.com to find out more. And if there's nothing there, you can always go ahead and start your own meetup. That's exactly how it works. And thank you all for your courage. Now, John, let's get our blades out. We do have one knighting to do. Yes.
Get it.
Oh, yeah, there it is. I see it. Gregory was... Oh, man. Help me out, John. Waskiewicz? We'll keep it at Waskiewicz. Gregory Waskiewicz, up here on the podium, man. Hurry up, because thanks to your donation, the amount of $1,000 or more, you today become a Knight of the No Agenda Roundtable for your support of the show, and I am very proud to pronounce the Sir Gregory W., Knight of the No Agenda Roundtable for you, of course, hookers and blow, rent boys and Chardonnay, cookies and vodka, early times and BF4, taquito and tequila, rabbit meat and goat milk, Dr. Pepper, and a quick handy, harlots and howdog, cowgirls and coffin varnish, beer and bloods, Rubenesque women and rosé, and of course, we got our mutton and mead, and that is over for you at noagendanation.com/rings. Eric the Shill will gladly help you get all of your stuff in there, so head on over there as soon as you can.
Title changes, turn and face the slave. Title changes, don't wanna be a douchebag.
Titles today changes. Sir Foxbat becomes Baron of the Cook Islands, the man with the tan, and Viscount Donald Borowski becomes the Count of Eastern Washington State. Both of you, thank you for your additional contributions in the total amount of an additional $1,000 for supporting the best podcast in the universe. Thank you so much. Dvorak.org/NA is where you can support the show. I suggest you do it because, these shows are rare, and there's not a lot of...
We're the only ones doing this.
We kind of are one of the only ones doing it. And, man, I got to tell you, I know we just kind of mentioned it almost offhand, but we got a full show, a best of show, produced by... I'm looking for it now. What's his name, John? Why am I spacing on? Oh yeah, David Orcutt. David Orcutt.
Yeah, Orca.
David Orcutt.
Orca.
What do you mean Orca? It's not Orca. Is it Orcutt? It's Orca? Orcutt.
No,
Yeah.
it's Orcutt. It's the same. He's got the same name as the defunct Google social network.
Yes. It's not defunct. The transsexuals in Brazil still use it.
No, they killed
shut that down.
Yeah, Google just shut it down. Hell with Brazil, they said.
Hell with they're transphobic. There you go, proof.
Yeah, there you go.
So he heard the call that would be great for us to take a show off from time to time. We like to do that. It doesn't happen often. In fact, maybe once or twice a year. But it's always hard to fill that because we don't want to just do a rerun or just have nothing. I am, by the way, looking for to interview Marianne Williamson. If anyone has a contact, I would love to interview her. I'd love to interview her as soon as possible, and it would be a great interview. You got to have a lot of. I'm thinking if you're going to do the interview, you need a little background sound. I'm thinking. Yeah, Marianne, tell me about your thoughts for the economy. You see, the thing is, I won't do that to her because I've listened to some of her talks and seminars. I appreciate. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be a douche.
A dick.
Okay. Anyway, so the request was, wouldn't it be great if you had a best of special of all of John's stories? And that would require someone to have knowledge
listen to all these stories.
If you wanted to listen to every single No Agenda show, it would take you, I think, over a year and a half if you listen 24/7. So he has knowledge of the shows. I don't know what he's done. I kind of felt like I would like to give a little teaser of this. Have you heard any of this?
Not yet. No.
Do you mind if I do a little 1.5-minute teaser of this of the show? We don't know when we're going to run it, but it's such a beautiful piece.
I'm sure it's some sort of an insulting clip, but go.
No, it actually shows your talent.
Talent.
Yes, this is a riot laugh clip. It shows your absolute talent, and this is the genesis, the origins of the straight from Reseda, Give It Up for Raven.
Oh yes, okay.
And as most stories go, they kind of just happen. Now, I cut out a lot of the setup here, but there is one segment where you do possibly the best. Well, I'll let the segment speak for itself.
Well, you have to do your welcome to the stage when someone makes it rain.
Everybody give it up for Amber.
No, you already did Amber. We need another.
Oh, I got it. Raven.
How do you know these things?
Straight from Reseda, here she is. Raven, give it up. Up next, Bambi. Bambi to the stage.
Bambi to the stage. Wow, you do know it. Okay, I'll do Raven, then we'll come back to you.
Straight from Reseda, here she is. Raven, give it up.
All right, John, go.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for that petite, hot bombshell, Janine, as she comes off the stage. Find her in the private dance rooms where you can live like a king with lap dances on sale. That's for your discount coupon and free private dance card available at the bar. Buy 10 dances, get 1 free. Now to the main stage is Sharona. She likes dirt bikes, dirty dancing, dirty boys, and Star Trek, as Sulu would say. Oh my, Sharona. Give it up to Sharona. Shirley and Donna will be doing a lesbian act on stage 2. Bring them up. Shirley and Donna. These two hotties can be seen at the club on Wednesday Mud Wrestling. Get a lap dance today, and the girls will give you a voucher for free entrance.
Is that it?
Yeah.
2 words. Exit strategy.
Yeah, that's where I'll end up.
There are some great. This is obviously the whole setup to this and how that happened, but there's some really good stories. So I'm not sure when we're going to schedule that, but I can't wait to hear the whole thing. The whole show is John's stories, and some of them are really phenomenally good, and somehow all humorous.
Orcut is now working on your stories because you actually have as many stories as I do, but they tend to be more showbiz stories. And that'll be the second show, which would, so you can almost combine these two when he gets that one done. That's going to take him a month.
I don't know how long
3 months.
I don't know how long he took to do this one, but
took a while.
But I guess what I want to say, I'm so incredibly appreciative of this. The things, and the end of show jingles and what you'll hear from Sir Chris and that cast of thousands for our Dame donation drive. These impossible in mainstream. It would not happen. Like, hey, boss, can we have someone produce this? There's no budget for it. Yeah. Am I wrong or am I right?
Time code down for that one.
But that's exactly the way it goes. And it would never happen. Meetups, we got nothing in the budget for anyone to organize meetups. All of this happens because we've cracked the nut of the future of media. At least for radio media.
Yeah, until they kick us off the air, they cut our power off every time we come on.
Well, you're going to get your Jenny. You're going to get your Jenny in your hotspot, and at least you'll be able to get on the air.
So,
yes,
back to the show.
This is the show.
I do want to play, because since we talked about the candidates, I do want to play these clips, this one clip in particular, because I pulled a couple of potential ISOs.
Oh, very nice.
And you didn't realize what a horrible cliche. Kamala Harris is the worst.
Yeah.
So the Alcindor woman, they sent her into the field on PBS NewsHour, the black woman who took
Yamiche Alcindor.
Yamiche. They sent Yamiche to South Carolina to go to a black South Carolina Democrat Party or something. It's a party, a block party.
It's like a party.
It's a block party.
Yeah.
And so she's got a few, she went on the street. This is the SC Dem meetup. And you got a bunch of man on the street little commentaries. And then she at the end of it, she asked Kamala, because it turns out that no black people in the South like her.
I think that's the same for the North, too.
In the North. Yeah, you're right. And so did we get this clip?
Biden is all right, but I think Biden and Bernie are low past the lifespan, you know. Cory Booker, he's pretty good.
Talking about Harris, so I'm just not connecting with her at all.
Some black voters said they don't trust Harris because of her background as a prosecutor.
What I read so far about her, they were saying that she was kind of harsh on African Americans, especially on drug charges and things like that.
So how is she trying to change this perception?
Look, first of all, let's just back up, because here's the thing. I am the only one on the stage who decided to jump in the fire at a very young age in my life and do what I could to reform the system from the inside.
What? What did she say? She jumped into bed to get done what she needed to do.
Yeah, with Willie Brown.
With Willie Brown, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
What got me is this, and I got the ISO, Kamala backup cliche ISO. I have two of them. I have the longer version, which is 3 seconds, and I shortened it to 2 seconds. I think it might be good. But it's just this series of cliches. Look, you know, and it starts with look and gets worse, but let's play it.
Look, first of all, let's just back up, because here's the thing.
First of all, look, let's back up. Here's the thing. Is that?
Yeah.
Look, first of all,
well, try it again. Play it again so we get.
All right, let me do the long one.
Look, first of all, let's just back up, because here's the thing.
First, let's just back up. Here's the thing. And it's like, what does she say? What is that? What is all that? Here's the thing, which is, by the way, she stole from Biden.
Biden, yeah, it's Biden's thing, yeah.
Biden is here's the thing guy.
Yeah, here's the thing. Popcorn.
So she stole that.
Corn
Look, she uses that all the time. So I shortened it I cut the last part off, and I think this would be a good ending.
Look, first of all, let's just back up.
Well, yes. But I have to say I might have a competing ISO.
Uh-oh.
And I can't play the ISO without playing the bit, without playing the full clip. And I found this clip to be phenomenal. You remember the former Obama ICE director, Tom Homan? He's kind of the gruff guy.
Vaguely.
Well, when you hear him, you'll remember. He's kind of a gruff guy, and he was acting ICE when Blondie took a hike. What was her name again? Boy, Nielsen,
yeah.
Yeah, and she got out, and she was tired of being harassed. Obviously,
oh, she's being brutalized.
Yeah. So Jayapal, Representative Jayapal, another one of these fine Democrats, is running some oversight committee, and is of course disparaging this guy and Trump horrible, Trump killing children, babies in cages, etc. And Holman just decides, hey, look, I'm a witness here.
Right, and this guy's great.
Yes.
Is there anything you'd like to respond to what you've heard today?
Yeah, I'd like to respond to Acting Chairman Jayapal and your comment about the Trump administration moving money around for more detention beds. I'd like to remind you, under the Obama administration, we did that most of the years he was president. We moved money around DHS. It's called reprogramming. We did that under the Obama administration. I don't remember any hearings on that. And also, I'd like to remind you that under the Obama administration, you're quick to point out that the cages were built under Obama administration. I was there. Family detention, we had 100 family beds under Obama administration. We built 3,000 more. So when there was a surge in FY14 and FY15 on the border, Congress was quick to give all the money we needed to build detention facilities, get transportation contracts. We reprogrammed money out of the majority of the years he was president. That was fine. Under Obama administration, FY12, we removed 409,000 people, half of what was removed last year. There was no hearings on that. So this is about transparency. Let's be factual about it.
The time of the gentleman has expired.
This is Jay
Since
Appel.
you did address some comments at me, I'll just say that I didn't like it under the Obama administration either. In fact,
but be honest with the American people.
Excuse me.
You can't point out faults in the Trump administration when it happened under the Obama administration. That's dishonesty. It's pathetic and it's sad.
Mr. Holman, I control
By the way, she's banging the gavel.
the time, and I am the chairwoman of the committee. Thank you for respecting that. I didn't like it under the Obama administration, and I'll remind you, Mr. Holman, that you also testified before Congress in support of the Obama's priorities enforcement program before the Senate Judiciary Committee on May 19th, 2016, which had a very different approach.
Well, can I respond to that?
With that,
Can I respond to that?
No.
Of course
may
not.
I find it very offensive that anybody would compare any federal employee, frankly, to someone who, the Gestapo or running Nazi concentration camps. That is very offensive.
Now, wait for this last bit when she just freaks out with the gavel.
I have 15 seconds and I yield it to you.
Thank you for saying that. I wish somebody in Democratic leadership would say that out loud. Look, you want to know why there's 50,000 people in detention? You want to know why we have 1 million illegal entries in the United States? You want to know why we have these issues? Because you have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists, you need to look in the mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing loopholes.
Mr. Holman, please respect the chair and the authority of the chair. The time of the gentleman has expired.
I've asked you politely to let me go beyond my time, and you let other people go beyond their time, but not to Tom Holman. He don't get me go beyond his time.
Mr. Holman, we have approved an agreement between the Republicans and the Democrats with the ranking member. We increased the time of one member of Congress who was interrupted by a protest. That is done with the approval of the ranking member. Please respect the chair's authority.
I respect the chair's authority, but the chair...
Mr. Holman!
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
The witness will suspend.
Stop the hammering!
I love that he just, so she says...
The witness will suspend.
But I like this one the best.
I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
So I don't know. It's in competition with you.
That one. That's what you can do to the cops when they pull you over.
Oh, you work for me? Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, you want to do Kamala or you want to do...
I'm a taxpayer. You work for me is better.
I think it's beauty.
I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.
I love that.
Okay, we'll keep...
Because that's what everyone says, but not when they're in front of a committee with the lady banging, and you should need to see her ugly ass face, man, because it just gets all scrunched up, and she's banging away like a crazy school mom with a shoe on the desk. It's just this is sad people.
Well,
all
okay.
right.
Well, let's see what else we got. I do have a last clip to finish things when we get to that point.
Well, we're close.
Well, okay, we might be close, but so let's get a couple of some news stories out of the way. Let's do a lot of people aren't talking about the riots going on in Haiti. I got a 30-second clip to bring us up to speed.
Riots in Haiti? How come I was not informed about this?
Yeah, you tell me.
And I'm trying to...
Latest from Haiti, sorry.
Thank you. I'm trying to show my outrage while searching for the clip, yes.
Violence in Haiti escalated yesterday as protesters continued to call for the ouster of embattled President Jovenel Moïse. Opposition supporters ransacked a police station, threw rocks at officers and buildings, and burned barricades. The protesters charged the government has failed to investigate accusations that the president's allies embezzled or wasted billions of dollars from a Venezuelan aid program. This is the third week of demonstrations that have forced businesses and public services to shut down. The protesters have pledged to continue until President Moïse resigns.
Oh, man.
Okay. Now, nobody's talking about that because there's too much Trump. How about
impeach.
we'll do a quick Hong Kong update?
Yeah, thank you, because that's something that kind of slips between the cracks.
Police armed with tear gas and water cannons put an early end to a government-approved pro-democracy rally in Hong Kong today. Thousands of protesters threw bricks and Molotov cocktails at government buildings while marking the 5th anniversary of the start of the 2014 Umbrella Movement. Members of that demonstration occupied downtown Hong Kong for 79 days in an unsuccessful attempt to convince the government to allow democratic reforms. Tensions between the pro and anti-government sides are expected to rise on Tuesday when Beijing celebrates the 70th anniversary of the founding of China's Communist Party.
China is asshole!
Sorry.
Always gets a cheap laugh.
Unavoidable. That's not that's what this show is about.
Now, if we're done, I got other stuff we can push off, but I do have an end of show clip. Not end of show, but end of our show.
Yes.
And it's a 29-second clip. This is the Indian announcer. I don't know if you heard this one.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, now I don't even know if this is a real clip or somebody overdubbed it. But this is a soccer match, and what happened in the soccer match is that to block a shot that was going into the goal, one of the Indian players ran like hell and then slid to just kick the ball before it went over the line, and in the process, he split his legs and it went right into the pole.
Oh no!
So he nutted himself. And the announcer's version of this is like, you'd never hear this on American television. I'm surprised this may not be real, but I think it is.
Who cares?
And it's hilarious.
If it's a cheap laugh, it's on no agenda.
Fantastic save, but I believe he hit his nuts on the goalpost. He is down. Let us have a closer look at instant replay. Not only just self-sacrifice on this play, but sacrificing future generations as well. Obviously going all out for his team, saving the ball right here, but also losing 2 on the play, putting his balls on the line. Let us have a moment of silence for this man's fallen brothers. As you see right here, he got to the ball and so did the goalpost. Not only taking 1 for the team, he took 2.
Okay. Who cares? Did someone send that to you? Or did you find that yourself?
He took 2 for the team. I found it on Twitter, actually.
That's funny. Okay. Well, hopefully we'll have power on Thursday for our first Thursday of the week show, or second Sunday. Coming up after this program on noagendastream.com, where you can join in with the trolls, Billy Bones has a walk through the mind. That's his show. Episode 64, Bananas and Milieus. So he's also a frequent end-of-show mixer. Got 2 lined up for you since Sir Chris and the Cast of Thousands is a full song. There's nothing like a dame, but it is a beauty. We'll play that, and also Jesse Coy Nelson checks in with a little ditty, and that'll take us to the end of the show. Coming to you from Opportunity Zone 33 in Austin, Tejas, capital of the Drone Star State, FEMA Region number 6 in all governmental maps. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, where next show I'll be reporting on a new phone I actually bought. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We can't wait for that. And you can't either. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until next time, adios, mofos, and such.
You're tuned to the Gitmo Nation World Service. Up next, a show tune from Rogers and Stop the Hammerstein.
We've got Adam, we've got John, and our podcast that's unique.
Our amygdalas are small from deconstruction twice a week.
We have foamers. We got zephyrs. We've got time to watch the train.
What do we want?
We want more day.
We've got newsletters from John. Body clips from other shows.
We get jingles sent to Adam.
And the scams that they expose.
We've got one-click boop donation. And they read our notes as well.
What do we want?
We know damn well.
All of us at the round table agree that it is very exciting. Yeah. When a producer has donated $1,000 or more, provided the accounting and receives the knighting. Yeah.
There is nothing like a day. Nothing in the world. Gitmo Nation will
and if he's got mead.
We've got bong hits, we've got bourbon.
At the round table to feed all the knights and dames who've gathered
In our Gitmo neighborhood, what do we feel?
We all feel good.
You must admit that there isn't anything finer than to see a producer who has supported the best podcast in the universe in the amount of $1,000 or more who was born with a vagina.
Gentlemen, I was born with a penis.
Irritable. Dude, you're not even transitioning.
No, but I'm allowed to identify as a dame. It's the law.
Yeah, that's Canadian law. You're an Aussie.
But it's the same queen, eh?
Irritable, stop trolling us. We have a song to sing. Hit it, guys.
There is nothing like a day. Nothing in the world. Gitmo Nation will acclaim. There ain't anything like a day. Nothing else is quite the same. Nothing in the world. One of no agenda fame, like proclamation of a dame.
There is absolutely nothing like when Adam prognosticates you a day.
Oh my fucking god! Sir Chris, you just summoned Zindu. Run!
Hey, Irritable! Nice boobs you got there.
Why, thank you, Zindu. I grew them myself, all 33 inches.
Nom, 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 nom.
Oh, thanks, Zindu. Thank you, Zindu. Thanks. Get the fuck out of here. You're not getting any money. That was horrible. Okay, I hope that works for you guys. If you need anything else, just let me know. Bye.
Hello? Did you just give up on me? Hello?
It happened on a Thursday. When they were on the air. Adam asked for John. But John wasn't there.
He wasn't there.
What if water in the mud flats?
In the mud flats.
What sent Fran away? California power outage on a no agenda day.
Hello? Jean-Claude? Okay. I'm going to stop for a second. What, John? Yeah, can I hear? Hello, do you hear me? Okay. Now tell me what happened. Kilo 5 Alpha Charlie Charlie, do we have an emergency generator anywhere in the Berkeley area?
That's pretty easy. Go ahead.
Can you drive to Berkeley and give John some power?
A little bit out of my range. I do have a 2001 inverter on board, but unfortunately, Berkeley's a little out.
Yeah, copy that. Jamie's in I'm actually streaming this. Jamie's in an 18-wheeler in Texas. Let me see, John. I think Connecticut N1 ID. Are you there, John?
Yeah, I'm here. N1 ID.
Well, can you get over with a generator to Berkeley?
Yeah, you're waiting like 3 days to drive it over.
Roger that. Tell me what's happening. And you have no wind or solar at your disposal?
California power outage on a no agenda day.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
I'm a taxpayer. You work for me.